Welcome to the beautiful city of Las Vegas, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with the North American Vainglory Premier League Summer Open. We're broadcasting live from the PokerGo studio at the Aria Resort and Casino, and we're ready to get into more 5v5 action. My name is Munchables. I'll be hosting the desk, and I'm going to be joined, as ever, by Tasty Bacon as we head into our North American segment of the day.
Yeah, looking forward to these matches. Obviously, being in North America, we have a lot more interaction with some of these players, so we know a few of them a little bit better, but it's still going to be very exciting matchups, and honestly, this is what it's all about. This is the matches that matter, as all the pro players would say, the meaningful matchups.
Absolutely, they're all going to be meaningful matchups in a single elimination tournament. Let's talk about the PokerGo format for you guys. There are 5 weeks of play, starting this week with the play-in round. This is just to qualify for our round of 16. That's where the major matches are going to be happening. 5 weeks will be panning out, and at the end of those 5 weeks, we'll have decided a champion for North America and one for Europe.
Yeah, and obviously, this is the opportunity to prove that you are the best team in Europe or North America, respectively, because it's an open tournament. Everyone was able to sign up if they wanted, so this is to find out who is truly the best team. It's not an invitational. It's not only select teams being invited. It is open to everyone. So this is the real proving grounds.
Let's take a look at our Dollar Shave Club prize pool as we have $5,000 on the line for each region. $3,000 is the top prize per region. For just 5 weeks of games, that's definitely a nice chunk of change to be walking away with. I'm excited to see who the teams are that going to be that are walking away with that, because obviously preseason we had a few teams making a statement for themselves, but it was a little bit undecided towards the end, so definitely this should maybe clear the air a little bit on some of those points. But let's have a little bit of a recap of what happened during preseason. We can have our Rockstar rewind of what was happening between these teams. Let's start off by talking about Tribe, because they started off the season incredibly strong.
Yeah, early on, Tribe looked like the favorite. They were the super team, this stacked roster of Cloud9 and Tribe rosters kind of coming together to form this super squad. Everyone expected them to be first. They looked to play the part right off the bat.
Yeah, they certainly did a 3-0 record to begin, but unfortunately for them, later on into the tournament, Nova really stepped up to the plate. And at the time, this was a big upset for Nova to take the game from Tribe.
Yeah, I mean, it really was an underdog tale with Nova there. They didn't start off that strong, but they ended up finishing very, very strong, picking up that win against Tribe and a few other key victories as well. The only team that they lost to, I believe, was actually TSM as far as the big names left in the preseason. So Nova finishing, I believe, second overall in the preseason, behind only TSM.
Yeah, and it was TSM that managed to win out the preseason in the end. They managed to beat both Tribe and Nova in the end and top that table. Now, we were getting ready for this week's games, and we had a little bit of a chat with Dienzio to see how Tribe were feeling heading on into the tournament. So let's pass it over to our Razor phone-in.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Dienzio here, and I'm one of the side laners for Tribe Gaming. In the preseason, we ended up taking 3rd place. Not the best result, but it was our first tournament, and it really doesn't matter because we just need to get used to playing in a tournament setting with each other. Further down the road, we played in the Excoundrel Premier League tournament, and we ended up taking 1st place. It was our first tournament win. It was amazing to win with the team, and we definitely learned a lot during this tournament, and there's things that we can take from that for the VPL. So I'm very excited for our team to play in it. I don't need to make a prediction because I know for a fact that we're going to destroy everyone in it. And teams can practice as hard as they want, but I know for a fact that we will always come out on top. See you guys all on the Sovereign's Rise.
Some spicy trash talk coming out from Dienzio. He's feeling confident coming in, but let's bear in mind, Tribe finished 3rd in the preseason, so I have to wonder how this is going to affect the matches in the tournament.
At the same time, though, it makes sense why they're feeling confident. They feel like that loss against Nova was a fluke. Then they win the Excoundrel Premier League. They get a little bit of momentum behind them. TSM obviously no longer. So they kind of can feel like they should be the strongest team, and they're the first seed for a reason.
Perhaps. Let's take a look at our Razor phone schedule for today. Obviously, we had our European games earlier on. You can see the results on the screen, but we're jumping into our North American games now. It's going to be Chimmy up against Toxic Peace to start things off. And then later on, we're going to see Liberation X stepping on into their match against Carry On. But we're already on into the draft here. It's going to be Chimmy versus Toxic Peace. We have Chimmy on our left side of the screen and Toxic Peace over on the red side. So I'm curious to see how this is going to differ between EU and NA. This is the first NA draft we're seeing.
Well, let's see if Anka is going to get banned. She has not been taken off the board just yet. Definitely.
Oh, she's out. Banned Ringo?
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah, I don't really know what.
You can always
no,
tell
it's got to be
when-
Reza, right? They must have meant to hit. No, Reza's already banned. I was thinking like maybe there's another hero with R that they could have misclicked, but that is an intriguing ban.
I'm also surprised by the fact that they're not instantly locking in Anka here. Anka has now slipped through to the B-side pick. There's going to be a Flicker pickup here, Joe. This is going to be a good game.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Malene going to be the first lock-in. Maybe just not confident on Anka, so not deciding to go with that one. But surely if you're not confident on Anka, you just ban it, right? So I don't know what that's about. But Arden will be locked in as well. So Flicker and Arden. I mean, Flicker is an interesting pick, that's for sure. Like, theoretically, OP, but...
We talked about this beforehand. We were talking yesterday, and I said, watch out for Flicker picks. And you're like, well, the Flicker pick is not really a serious pick right now. And I said, I don't know. I think we're going to see it. And we are now seeing it here on day one of the VPL Summer Open.
Anka was picked up on second rotation and then swapped. So I think maybe it was a matter of Chimmy literally doesn't own Anka, so couldn't lock it in. Like that legitimately could be the situation.
Actually be.
So Kestrel and Tony going to be locked in over on the side of Toxic Peace, and we'll see how Chimmy are going to round out this guy. I mean, they got the Anka in the end, so it all worked out, but that was dicey territory. Yeah. That's a weird way to play a draft.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting draft to say the least, but the composition that has now been put together by the side of Chimmy is a pretty terrifying composition.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it top to bottom, the only thing you're really missing is like a bruiser that can go in and still dish out damage while being able to absorb a lot of damage as well. But with the amount of crowd control they have between the Catherine, between the Death from Above, between Malene, you have a lot of peel so that you don't really need that bruiser to soak up damage because you can just back away from a fight if it starts to go sour.
Also,
sour.
An absolute ton of bursts. So maybe you just never find that 5v5 fight. Maybe using that Catherine, just try and find a pick-off. Let's take a look at these rosters, though. It's going to be Chimmy up first. We have Marto, Sam, Status, and that was not the Chimmy roster. So the Chimmy roster is Chimmy, Tiny Train, Kaya, Mist, and let's take a look at Toxic Peace. K-Vortex, we have Zaku, we have Kino Den, and Glass Ceiling and Panic.
Yeah, jumping the gun there on the Liberation X roster, but as you mentioned, the Chimmy roster is Chimmy, Tiny Train, Kiaka, Mist, TaylorMade, Heist, and Mr. PHX. Around now you can see the proper Chimmy roster on the screen there. So this is, looking at the draft, I gotta say, I am heavily favoring the Chimmy side.
Yeah, I do feel like both teams have an opportunity though, but it's about time that we find out which team is gonna be able to take this one. I wanna head on to Sovereign's Rise for our very first North American VPL Summer Open game. It's gonna be Chimmy going up against Toxic Peace. Let's head on to Sovereign's Rise and kick this game off.
And we are into game one of our first series of the day for North America. We've got Chimmy over here versus Toxic Peace, and I think this is going to be a fun matchup, even an Anka in this one.
Yeah, look at this very early invade onto the red side jungle here. This is a little bit of the difference that you see between North America and Europe. North America love these red side invades. They like to try and shut down that weapon power buff early on, but we have got an all-out brawl, Humanist.
Pretty all-out minus the sky here, and Malene needs to stay on the backside of this and continue to poke. You see going shadow to dark, just letting those tendrils and ribbons fly here. And nothing being taken just yet, so that's Toxic Peace dropping back for the Gold Oak, something that they can take. Yeah, they'll go ahead and grab that. It's a nice take for them, the smart play, and nobody goes down, but this does leave the weapon Treant over here for Chimmy.
Yeah, I think a better response from B side would have been to go straight for that weapon power buff on blue sides. So I would have just rotated into their weapons power jungle and just tried to take that away from them. It looks like that's what Arden is doing now, and if he gets away with it, that is the best response they could hope for from this particular engage. But look at all that vision they've managed to get down in that weapon power side jungle. They will know when those respawns come up, and they should be able to get another rotation off pretty swiftly.
Yeah, that's an incredible vision. I'm glad you pointed that out, and it's also interesting to see the Arden move over there. So he kind of takes it down quite low and allows the Kestrel to move in, clean it up, and with that, looks like the whole jungle actually gets cleared out over here by Toxic Beast.
Yep, and they are going to be able to get that entire weapon power jungle, like you said. Have they managed to pick up the weapon power buff? I'm just having to have a look now.
Yeah, it's on the Kestrel.
Yeah, they have. Sorry, my mini-map's just bugged out a little bit. Yeah, so Kestrel's managed to pick that up. That's a good response. I mean, you basically traded jungle for jungle at this point, and that's really, like I said, the best outcome they could have hoped for. So now they're going to send up their Kestrel to their bot lane. It looks like they're going to duo top here with the Tony and the Flicker. I'm assuming this is going to be a utility Flicker top, and then Tony just as a jungler here, but it's very interesting that they're actually leaving the Kestrel to her own devices versus the Adagio.
Well, I guess we'll see how that's going to play out. For me, I want to ask you about this Anka. Like, how does the Anka have an impact? Because we haven't get to see competitive matches with this hero yet.
So Anka is an interesting hero. I think she has potential to be one of the best heroes, but it really is super user dependent. She is very high burst, and she really drops off towards the late game when people pick off Slumbering Husks and get a lot of shielding. So she's really good at capitalizing on 1 and 2 item spikes. If you get her ahead, she can essentially win a team fight by herself. However, you are on a timer with Anka. She either has to change her playstyle towards the late game, or she needs to run away with the game in the early stages. Her late game playstyle is a little bit like you'd expect something like a Kha'Zix from League of Legends. You essentially need to wait for your right moment, get a reset, get a reset, get a reset. But if she can roll ahead, she can literally 100 to 0 someone really quickly.
All right, well, we'll see if they can make that happen right now. Glass Ceiling gets down some good vision. A nice scout cam in the brush there. But this is Shimmy in position to potentially take this Crystal Tree, and all of a sudden, though, 4 from Toxic Beast move on down. They're a little too late to the party. They'll get the first blood, but Crystal Treant went the other way. Let's see, Shimmy moving. They kind of did a dealt split there. Tiny Train with the juke across the wall should be chased down. The Healing Flash plus the juke buying about 10 seconds there, but that's Tony just chopping him down.
Looks like they actually gave up on the Maline, who is the one that walked away with their crystal buff, and now she's going to take those back camps as well. Nice. Samuel Samuel had the opportunity to chase her down, didn't, and they actually come away with that CP buff. It's whether they can be aggressive now, Gary and K Vortex in the mid lane, and try and look for an invade onto the enemy CP buff, while Zaku right now.
Zaku?
Yeah, Zaku down the bot lane. There's a big fight going on.
Yeah, Zaku is going to be okay. Has the healing. Glass Ceiling's backing him up. And I don't see Mist really looking to get aggressive yet. This is the Weapon Sky. Only has the starting items at this point, so not really looking to get too aggressive. And it is Zaku able to get the Weapon Treant as well. So a nice rotation down here from Toxic Beast.
Yeah, they actually timed it better than Chimmy. Chimmy could have gone into the weapon power jungle. They had the vision. They knew when it was respawning. They haven't made that invade onto the weapon power side jungle for Toxic Peace. And now Toxic Peace could just rotate back up towards their top side and get a 3 buff rotation here, which would be really good for them.
Stun into mid. Zarka taking a lot of damage. Got to get back. No, he actually goes down. Chimmy finding a nice kill, getting himself on the board. And you find 4 of Chimmy over on this side. I'm not sure what they're going to accomplish. As for do they look to apply pressure here, or do they just shove the wave and then go take something?
Shove the wave, back off. I think with the Kestrel rotating down and a massive wave crashing into the top lane, you're not really going to get much from this. Yeah. It's a good time, I think, for Bear to back. So I would be either going to the jungle shop and backing, or backing and then heading back to lane. Looks like they're all going to commit to this top lane, though. They've got a big wave that's shoved in. They know that Kestrel just rotated down. They could potentially look to try and catch Kestrel back out on the rotation to the top lane and then look for a top lane tier 1, but they do look to back off that idea, respond to Samuel coming back to the mid lane, and reset.
And this is Maline moving in. Not going to find the lockdown here on Gary's Disciple, so there's no follow-up to be had. And just kind of a...
Yeah. Sorry, how has Gary's Disciple ended up being 2 levels below this Maline? Or now 1 level, but I guess it's the CP buff denial and the fact that he hasn't been jungling very much, but here we go.
I mean, the Maline also got back and got that double camp as well, right? So, yeah. Nice take. Tony, who will find the Anka, and Flicker moves then also to take down Maline, so this is now 4-1 Toxic Peace coming out on top 6 minutes in. It looks like with the boots forward from Glass Ceiling, Surrey Strike's not enough. In fact, Zarko even over the wall, making sure they're absolutely going to get this kill. They do indeed. And 5 kills in 6.5 minutes, looking pretty good here.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure what that was all about, Humanist. That kind of just walked into their death. I mean, Tony is a super strong early jungler. He's just power spiked with that Sorrow Blade pickup. He's going to start hitting like a, yeah, he's got 3 points in his A. He's going to hit them like a truck at the moment. You can't walk directly into a Tony. And if you actually look at the composition from Chimmy, they really don't have much of a front line apart from Catherine. And to be honest, if you're someone trying to dive the back line, after Catherine is stunned, you can pretty much ignore her. She's really not a captain that you need to pay that much attention to. So I would say that the composition from Chimmy is very, very vulnerable to this high mid-game burst coming out from the Tony and from the Samuel. They're going to have to be super careful, as well as the fact that we've got a Pulse Weave Flicker, something that we haven't talked about. This is a build that I've seen a little bit of. I didn't expect it to be super popular, but Pulse Weave Flicker gives you a really solid engage, and actually the damage from Pulse Weave is very, very strong for Flicker in the mid-game. So this is a really good mid-game engage composition for Toxic Peace, and if they can continue to just apply pressure with all the amount of engage that they've got, then they can very easily run away with this before the scale-up comes.
Yeah, I think Flicker is going to have a pretty serious impact here and through the early mid game, as you pointed out. And going back to the Tony, you know, this is something we even talked about in EU. Like, well, that's going to be the Oblivion into mid. Hold on, we might have 1, maybe even 2 kills here. Maline gets put down. Kestrel credited with that kill. Kiakaha chopped down. That's the Tony, and that's going back to the point we were making. Like, you have these fairly squishy heroes, and you have high burst damage. Pretty easy to get these kills.
Yeah, Tony actually diving very heavily there. Has to be careful.
Tiny Train moves in, though. This looks like it could have been a... I mean, honestly, it felt like a mistake. It felt like he could have moved in and tried to get the kill, but maybe caught by surprise, moves back, or the call was made to move down into bottom and try to take the Sky out. Yeah,
Sky has to be very careful. Taunted up here, Zaku.
He's in. This is another kill for Tony. He can get in range. Yeah, got it. But he falls to the turret. 534 damage, no big deal.
Red buff transfer complete, though, Humanist. That's all we care about.
Oh,
look at this anchor. Look at this anchor as well. Really far behind. Farming not going too well in the jungle. Anchor is a super gold dependent carry as well. This is why a lot of people in EU play her in the mid lane, and I'm sure a lot of people in America do too. She needs the gold to hit her power spikes quickly. Her Shatterglass is her big first power spike. She needs that really around 6 to 7 minutes, and now it's almost 9, and she's still level 5 compared to the level 7 on Tony, and is massively behind in terms of item spikes. And also by going mid lane, you have the gold income, you can shove waves with a max B, and you can roam really easily. This is just not a good game for Anchor right now.
Well, I mean, what is it going to change in the playstyle at this point? Does it mean you have to just kind of pull off the gas and make sure you get that farm, or can you still just try to fight but not as effectively?
Well, you need to rely on your teammates to do a bit more of the damage for you. You should be looking for execute, so that we have an engage in the mid lane.
And we have a dead Catherine in the mid lane.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, it's, to be honest, it really needs to be the rest of the team, like Maline, looking to burst someone low enough so that... Oh, wait a second. There we go. Down.
And weapon buff hits the deck. Dude, that is such a good combo between the Flicker and the Arden. With a hero like the Anka getting caught out there, that's almost an instant death every time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that has a really strong engage. Wait a second. Kino has to be super careful here.
Nice. With the boots and active cam, able to just wiggle out of that one.
Yeah. Looks like they're going to go for the Ghost Wing as well. Are they doing Ghost Wing without Stormcrown between a Flicker and an Arden right now?
Dude, these guys are getting it done. Speaking of getting it done, looks like Tony finds Maline. And then a bada boom knocking 2 back in mid here. But Tiny Train shows up. Gary Disciple dropping low. And that's going to be the kill coming through for Anka. So getting a little bit of work done. We'll get the kill. Down in bottom, Sky will take the turret. And in the meantime, after 5 minutes, Ghostwing will be captured.
Yeah, if you don't have Stormcrown and you try to take that with an Arden and a Flicker, they are going to take that the slowest possible combo potentially in the world. That probably could have been like allocated to the Kestrel. The Flicker maybe could have gone mid lane. Kestrel and Arden could have done it, and actually Flicker would have had more impact in that mid lane engage. Anchor getting that kill right there is exactly the point that I wanted to make to you before we had all the action, by the way, Humanist. Anchor has to play Predator at this point in time. She literally has to sit there and wait for someone to get low. Here's an engage, though.
They mooncloaked into the gauntlet on the opponent's side of the map. This is a really nice out of the taunt back, keeping Catherine held in place, but it looks like the burst is going to come out here. Doesn't connect with a stun. Glass Ceiling trying to zone for his team. He'll get put down first. K-Vortex being chased down by Tiny Train. Tiny Train still not able to find the kill on the Arden. A little bit of wasted resources. Finally, they'll take down the Arden. Now, looks like Chimmy switching over to Zark, who can miss chase him down with Chimmy. Maybe if the root was landed, but looks like he's gone a little too far. What was that?
Got to be super careful now, though, Tony. Can't commit too much further. That was a bit of a messy team fight, though. Something, I wish I could go replay of it, but it definitely felt like there was something zoning the Kestrel and the Samuel out of the fight, leaving Tony, Flicker, and Arden to their own devices, and they really don't have the damage. Wait a second, I think we just got another kill here.
That's going to be Anka going down there. A nice kill for Toxic Peace to find himself up 13-5, 12 minutes in.
Yeah, and you can see very close to getting the breaking point in the Kestrel. This is interesting. They are going to go for Black Claw. They don't have any vision from the enemy to be able to say that they're going for it, so the enemy might not want to contest. I think Catherine has now spied this out, though.
Yeah, it's definitely spotted here, and you have Adagio quickly moving in here as well. Maline trying to poke from range. The best you can do is try to get that vision down. Bada Boom's going to reposition this fight. Tony's going to try and tank this up. Adagio right in the middle of things. Flicker taking a double kill. That damage stacked up quick, and it looks like they're going to lose another as this team just starts to fall apart. Well, Gary's Disciple is the only one to go down over here for Toxic Pete. Well, second, Glass Ceiling dropping low as well. Mist getting a little bit of work done here, but you're going to have to get back. Mist, that would have been the ace. Can't play it. Oh, one shot will not connect, and this means Black Cloud will be going over to Toxic Peace.
Yeah, it was a very ambitious Black Claw attempt in the first place, but you know, when the enemy doesn't have vision in the area, you can sometimes sneak these big objectives that can swing the game, and that would have been more like solidifying the game here for Toxic Pieces. They look like the ones in control. The big killer was the two squishies. I think it was Maline and Adagio stuck right in the middle. They got rooted up, and Black Claw had a massive AoE piece of damage come down. That was spelled their doom. Not sure that this is the correct play here. Basically, they all backed off Black Claw. Now, there are two things you can do with Black Claw, Humanist. You can either follow Black Claw and use it as a sieging tool, or you can use the distraction of Black Claw to siege another lane. It looks like the team from Toxic Peace are a little bit split about how they wanted to achieve this, and they sent Kestrel to a side lane and sent two members to the mid.
Yeah, I like it. They did a little bit of both, and they wind up getting two turrets there. They will lose Samuel on the back of that fight. Sky takes down Black Claw there. So this does feel like it's a moment for Team Jimmy to get a little bit of control on the map.
Yeah.
But what do they do?
Well, that was a really good decisive play from them, because the split, it was, in my opinion, not a good split from Toxic Peace. Like, Kestrel is your main sieging tool. You either commit with her as a unit to a side lane, let the enemy deal with Black Claw, and then you can get a couple of turrets, maybe even an armory turret if you push hard enough. But they split everything off, trying to get the best of both worlds, and ended up with the best of neither. That's a big engage, though.
That is just a dead Anka. Absolutely destroyed here. And Toxic Peace collapse on down. Blast Shimmer will land onto two. Is Catherine doing a good job on the front side of this fight, but the rest of his team is zoned out here because Tony's bada boom knocking Chimmy back into the lane. Ally getting chased down in the jungle. That's the Sky to fall. A little bit of time being bought by the Maline. Maline will be able to trade one for one down in the bottom lane. And actually an ace at the end of it as they're going to find the last kill onto Adagio as he's trying to squirt out towards the river. Toxic Peace taking a massive fight here. This is going to be Ghost Swing as well.
Really good capitalization there. An overcommit from the Anchor, especially at that bottom lane tier 2. She used her A, which is the best way for her to get onto a target to blow them up. She used that on the turret. Now, you can use that on the turret sometimes. If you're using that to get into position to land a B or use an ultimate to finish someone off to get a reset, using it on the turret is perfectly fine. In that situation, she basically isolated herself. No one was low enough for her to capitalize on, and it was just an awkward move, and it engaged the team fight in a way that Anchor became useless immediately. A really good way to then take her down because she's isolated and she's already used her A, so her mobility is gone, and that was so easy for Toxic Peace to then take that fight like by storm.
Absolutely. Catherine, once again on the front side of this fight. Oblivion puts 3 to sleep. You'll get woken up with a one-shot. And Catherine, one of the tankier ones on the front of that fight, and able to eat it up. Throws the Blast Shimmer back the other way, but nothing to follow, so it's not a big deal. In the meantime, Glass Ceiling was able to take a turret down in the bottom lane. This Flicker's having a hell of a game here.
Yeah, no, honestly, this Flicker has been, for me, the surprise. I actually picked up an Aftershock now, so he's got his own form of damage coming through too. That is sometimes what you see, it's called like Bruiser Flicker. And this is very much utility Bruiser Flicker coming out from Glass Ceiling. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty solid top lane pick from what I can see here. Works really nicely with the composition. Does look like Toxic Peace are committing without Flicker though, and this could be very, very scary.
Yeah, committing without the Flicker at this point, and this seems a sketchy situation, but they're turning it around. They have the damage. They'll take down Anka to start. Adagio clipped with the one-shot, throws out the burst, but stunned up by the Gauntlet. What a godly Gauntlet here. I've never seen such a Gauntlet Scoundrel. And with that, they'll chase forward. They'll find the stun and the damage coming through. Tony takes that kill. Catherine will waddle away on just a sliver of health as the Black Claw lands on the map here. Flicker already moving to get into position. That was a 4 versus 5 skirmish. Oh, they're gonna get another one. They take 4 kills. They lose nobody. Toxic Peace putting on a performance here.
Yeah, absolutely schooling them at the moment. It's not a competition from this point forward. I think Blacklaw should help them seal the deal. I don't know if they'll finish off this push. I don't know if they've got enough global objectives, but they could very well use Blacklaw as a mid lane distraction. I would like to see them commit their squad to the top lane or their bot lane and go straight down that bit and push the armory turrets. I don't know why they're farming at this point in time. You got the buff from Blacklaw, guys. You got your health back. You don't need to take the healing camp. You don't need weapon camp. Use Blacklaw. Stop messing around on the map. Oh.
No, keep going, dude. You're just getting started. Okay. They're playing with the food a little bit. They're having a good time, man. This is VPL. They're on stream right now. It's like, hey, grandma's watching. They gotta get the most out of it they can. Look at me. Watch me take this weapon buff, grandma. Okay, Melene's down. Look at that. They did that with 3 versus 5 right here. No big deal. Glass Ceiling taking damage. Bada Boom will knock Kia back. That's not the target that they really wanted. It's about the tankiest one, but Kia surviving through this so far. Trash Talk will pull back. They're probably gonna lose the Catherine here. And this is Blacklaw has died, so they really didn't get much out of it, as you said.
But they're really strong, right? So they don't need Blacklaw to win the game. They've also been one.
They could play clean.
Yeah, they could play clean. They could play clean. They're actually 1-3-1ing at the moment, which means they've got 2 split pushes going on, one of the Samuel and one with the Kestrel. Kestrel just needs to continue to apply pressure in this lane, whilst the rest of the team is pressuring elsewhere. They look like they're going to go for Ghostwing now. Obviously, no contest coming through from our blue squad, Chimmy, but I want to see them go directly to that bot lane, allow Kestrel to push the top lane, split pressure across the map, and make it very difficult for Chimmy to deal with.
All right, well, Chimmy, this feels like a desperate situation. Kestrel is huge. It feels like if Chimmy's going to get something done, it's going to come on the back of the Sky, getting some nice quick breaking point stacks, and then getting on to one of the squishier targets, being the Samuel or the Kestrel, but it's going to be incredibly hard for him to do that.
I think one of the only ways I can see Chimmy coming back into this is they've now got a sort of a decent mid-game anchor build, but here's an engage.
There's the engage, a nice gauntlet down. Mr. Phoenix winds up for the verse, but it's blocked off. Won't be connecting on any stuns. Melene trying to dodge the damage and dip back. They'll lose the Catherine. They're also going to lose Anka as well. Bada Boom disrupting the fight. There goes the Sky, and there go your hopes at game 1. Mr. Phoenix drops back. Chimmy as well, but Gary's Disciple, Omega Lol. Look, he's just 1v2ing in your base. You got a turret. You got the Vein Crystal hammering down on him. He does not care, making the plays. This is going to be Toxic Peace up 33-10, 20 minutes in. They'll close this one out with the clean ace right at the end. And looking very good here in game 1.
Yeah, I think they had a really good composition. They executed really well. They dealt with the invade at the start super well, went into the enemy weapon power buff and took that away. And then obviously used this kind of utility flicker super nicely, Humanist. Honestly, outclassed at this point.
Outclassed here as they're taken to school. But to break it down, we'll throw it back over to the desk.
Toxic Peace with a convincing victory there. A high kill game as well, it has to be said. But they were winning out those team fights. And I mean, when we were looking across the scores of each individual player at the end there, it was difficult to pinpoint one specific player because everybody had such great scores.
Yeah, I mean, Kestrel was 6-0-9 down the stretch. Flicker was 8-2-7. Like, it was just absolutely insane what they were able to do with this. And, you know, before the game, I did say, like, I liked Chimmy's composition. I liked the amount of damage that they had, but they were never really able to use it. They were getting picked off. Instead of being the ones that were trying to pick off targets, they kept getting caught out because of this Flicker applying slows to everyone. You know, Tony had some great ultimates and taunts to keep their team kind of isolated. Yeah. And it just, the way they ran that composition was actually just really effective.
Yeah, it was actually, to be honest, when I saw the Flicker in the draft, I was kind of like, we'll see where this goes.
Sleep on the
but
Flicker.
Actually, they played it well, and they used the composition actually very effectively. So I kind of eat my words on that one. But we're going to be breaking this one down a little bit more in just a few seconds' time. But first, a word from our sponsors. We can take a quick look at our bracket here. And let me just inform you guys that Chimmy and Toxic Peace, that's the match we're watching currently. It's 1-0 to Toxic Peace right now. Whoever wins this game, as you can see over in the A quadrant of the bracket, is going to be moving on to take on Tribe next weekend. So a lot on the line for these teams. Obviously, Tribe's not going to be an easy opponent for the winner.
Do you get the honor of facing Tribe, or do you get stuck having to face Tribe at that point?
That could be the question. Tribe is definitely a difficult one, but we're jumping straight on into this next draft here. Anchor once again not banned. Ringo once again banned. Flicker this time taken off the table by Chimmy. I want to talk a little bit about the Anchor pick because we saw it get through the pans last time. Tiny Train picked it up, but really struggled to have an impact on that hero.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where the Anka kind of needs a little, like she's very strong early on, but not on her own. And it's a weird way, like we talk about some heroes like Alpha is very strong early game on her own, can find solo kills. Anka, not quite. So the fact that it was paired like with a Maline, who also kind of struggles in the early game, it ended up in this situation where they never really got the power spike that they needed from the Anka. And so if you're going to have this Anka pick, you need someone that can go in with her early on, and so you can get those deletions. Just that little bit extra is all she really needs. It's not like she's weak early on. That's where she's actually part of the strongest. But you need just that little bit of extra.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, couldn't find it in game one of the series. We'll see if that changes. See if anyone's actually willing to go for Anchor here. We actually have a Glaive locked in for Toxic Peace. Personally, I actually love Glaive, but we've not really seen him across the course of today. I'm excited to see what kind of afterburn plays we'll be seeing coming out from these guys.
Yeah, definitely a little surprising to see Glaive come through. It's not a pick that is heavily prioritized really anywhere at the moment. It shows up here and there, but it's not like there's a lot of options that you almost feel does Glaive's job kind of better. Like when it comes to isolating a target, but with Tony taken off the board, maybe that's they wanted that hard isolation tactic, and Tony is really the best at it right now. So Glaive kind of follows up after him. So Glaive with the Catherine, Celeste, the Gauntlet from Arden as well. There's a lot of crowd control currently on the side of Toxic Peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And with a Black Feather locked in as the final pickup as well, that kind of rounds out the damage. That was what they were lacking. They had a Celeste, obviously, but Glaive can offer a lot, not necessarily the greatest in terms of pure carry. Black Feather definitely fills that hole. Scarf going to be locked in Chimmy though, so a good amount of damage coming out from them as well. Scarf is something me and you were talking about before the broadcast, about whether we would see him as a mid lane pick. Looks like Chimmy are confident in bringing that to the table.
Not just that, but a lot of range on the side of Chimmy as well. Obviously, Celeste, you always think about range when you think Celeste, but you have Scarf, you have Kestrel, you have Adagio, then you have Lyra for the deep engages for the one hero that can't just walk in, can't just poke from long range. That's Tony. Of course, Tony has his own engage tools as well.
All right, we do have a few teams I want to talk about heading on into the later stages of the tournament. We have Playful Fangs, Hammers Esports, and Liberation X, who will be playing later on today. These are some of the teams that are going to be kind of flying under the radar a little bit. They're not your top teams quite like Tribe and Nova, but they're definitely teams that you guys need to be watching out for as the tournament continues to play out, because these are teams that could make those upsets and really could make big waves in the tournament.
And we'll get to see one of them a little bit later on. But yeah, like you said, these are teams that have names that you'll recognize and names that can make a deep run.
Absolutely. We'll talk about Liberation X later on, because it's time to jump into game number 2 of this series. It's Jimmy versus Toxic Peace. 1-0 to Toxic Peace right now. We'll see if they can take the honor of facing Tribe on in the tournament.
And we are into game 2 between Toxic Peace and Team Chimmy over here. Toxic Peace taking game 1 in quite the fashion. We'll see if Team Chimmy can come back here.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good composition to do it with. They have a Kestrel, like something that North America loves in the bot lane. You don't see too much of it in Europe, but North America really like to use that Kestrel to the best of their ability. They have a Scarf with a Lyra. They've got plenty of peel for them, plenty of double heal as well with the Taunt and the CC of Tony. This is a good composition to make it a game 2 comeback with, actually, Humanist.
Yeah, they definitely have some tools at their disposal. It's just, can they put it together? You know, they were able to find a couple kills in game 1 here and there, but it just consistently out-rotated, out-maneuvered, and overpowered. And I am kind of scared when I see the likes of the Glaive, the Arden on the map, the Black Feather. These are the kind of heroes that if they do start to get a bit of an opening, they can really run away with the game.
Yeah, I mean, if the Black Feather starts to get ahead as well as the Glaive, that's what I'm going to start to worry about, like you said. Like, if they dive in, and they can put pressure on a Kestrel and a Scarf, especially a weapon power Kestrel early on before she gets that instant stealth. That's what I'm going to start to worry about if I'm going up against Toxic Peace, because those guys will eat your squishies alive. And especially if they combo together, that squishy won't last very long at all. A lot of it will come down to really nicely placed Bs from the Lyra. If Lyra can stop the Glaive Afterburn with a well-placed B, or Crucible the effect, I'd be really, really happy to see that from Chimmy, but they're getting aggressed on in this mid lane.
Aggressed, a bit of harass coming out there, but at the same time, Tiny Train and Mist making their way down from the jungle. This is a Tony with weapon buff early on in the game, not something you really want to make any mistakes against. And no mistakes will be made. It looks like K Vortex just continuing to kind of hold down the lane, and a nice afterburn back will put Scarf in a bad place. Chimmy hit with the Helio, one more attack, he'll go down. Well, he has the healing, so he stays alive. It looked like if he didn't get that off, he would have gone down to that one basic attack. So a nice out and no first blood.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's going to be losing a little bit of experience, but what I do like from Chimmy is they're now sharing that between the Lyra and Tony to make sure none of it goes to waste. The CP buff will be respawning fairly soon, and Gary's Disciple, if he doesn't actually time his back here, he might be in a situation where he loses that CP buff on his side, and he has to be really careful, because this is a bad back timing for Gary. If K Vortex also doesn't back, you can see Tony's posturing for it. They might actually get double CP buffed.
Well, I mean, so how does he make that better? It just, as soon as he sees the other back, he's just got trigger on his own back?
I think if you know the timings of your CP buff and you knew that it was coming up in roughly 30 seconds, you just forced Scarf back, I would have just shoved the wave as quickly as I could, backed immediately. Not stuck around for another wave, even if I didn't get the shove on the wave, backed immediately, because if I lose both my CP buffs early on here, that's going to be a major experience advantage for Chimmy. He could have avoided that by backing and being in a healthier place to contest Tony at his own CP buff. However, the way that he played it, it looked like they got a good amount of work done to Scarf, but in reality, they actually set themselves behind. And Scarf is also 5 CS up somehow, so this is just not good overall for Gary.
Yeah, but he's landing some nice damage. Gary's Disciple doing his best here in the mid lane. And, you know, luckily for Chimmy, it was the Glaive that moved over and did secure that crystal buff up. So it's not like it did go over to the Tony that was denied by the team. So a little bit of team play. Nice core collapse connecting as well. And Gary's Disciple looks like pretty comfortable in the Celeste here, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's also done what you'll notice a lot of players do sometimes at higher tiers, gone for the 4 crystal bits. Now, that might look like a dumb build, but the 4 crystal bits is the most cost-effective way of getting the highest amount of CP in the early game. So you can then upgrade those to heavy prisms or eclipse prisms and work towards whatever you want to work towards. But having this means you have the most bang for your buck in terms of early game damage output, and it's actually really showing with the amount of pressure that he's putting down to Kia and to Chimmy.
No, I mean, if people don't do this, like you said, I guess like it could look silly if you don't understand This is incredibly effective, and often on so many heroes, this is exactly the way you want to play it to get maximum damage output. Now up in top, K Vortex taunted back by Tiny Train. Tiny Train chasing, and he's got him right there, fairly easy. Now Glass Ceiling getting locked down, 3 heroes bearing down on the back of Catherine. Catherine will be able to get out of that one, just tanky enough. But the rotation from Gary's Disciple up towards top was a bit mistimed there. And Gary's Disciple almost putting himself in a bad situation. In fact, taunted back here is going to take a lot of damage. In fact, that's a dead Celeste. Tiny Train even
Wow.
gets...
What has happened to Chimmy in between game 1 and game 2? They're rotating better. They're timing their buffs really well. They're managing the map pressure. Chimmy on this scarf has really done well with these gloops and setting them on fire. I don't know. This just looks like a different team to me. They've been super strong in terms of pressuring the map.
Well, hold on. We'll talk about this in just 1 second. There's an engaged bottom, a Rose defensive forward. Keto, just almost takes Chimmy. Zarko's there. Zarko, he has the boots. He's moving forward. You're dead. Dead. Call PETA. Kitty cat / dragon has been taken down in a flash of rainbow as the glaive gets that kill.
Yeah, and that was a little of a mistake in terms of positioning coming out from Chimmy. He probably could have just run for it, and Glaive might not have been able to catch up. However, in the meantime, the blue buff was stolen away by Tony. He does get stunned up here, though.
Tony's in a bad place, gets that burst of healing. Thanks, Kia. And he'll be okay and able to back, and Scarf should make it back into the lane before this wave crashes into the turret. Chimmy playing incredibly well here. It could have been game 1 nerves. Honestly, could have been. That's
could have been game 1 nerves.
Kia's incredibly low. One more combo would have definitely been the kill there.
Yeah, absolutely. But most importantly, Chimmy's backed in time and is healthy enough to contest his own blue buff. Which is going to allow him to get another experience advantage over the Celeste. He's already 1 level up at this point in time. Going to increase that gold lead, and also going to have that small power spike that the CP buff provides. The one thing that I would compliment Toxic doing right now well is that they're taking the bottom lane tier 1, so global gold now in their favor. They rotated up towards this top lane when the wave was crashing and when Scarf was doing his own CP buff, meaning that they might even get 2 tier 1 turrets out of this. But Tony and Kestrel have got other things to think about.
I mean, there's a lot of damage output between these 2 heroes. Now, Bada Boom puts them into the wall, but there is no
3-man taunt.
3-man taunt into the 1-shot, 1 kill. Tiny Train trying to get locked up, but the Blaster turns around, connects Solar Storm as well. But hello, I'm a dragon. This is my breath. Oh, and I'm going to burn down the bush.
Well, what it might result in is pressure on this top lane tier 1. Adagio is rotating up now as well. It doesn't look like...
Why'd you blame yourself?
Why would you body block on 2% HP?
Because I'm cold and I need some fire.
But they gave up their life and the tier 1 turret now. And actually, Chimmy looking pretty strong in this second game. And honestly, Toxic, who were very, very good and looked completely dominant, I thought this was going to be a 2-0 sweep for sure, have ended up on the back burner. Now, they're not super far behind. They're only about 1,000 gold behind. And that's really coming down from that turret that they've managed to take. That would have kept them in the game a little bit here, as well as the fact that the Black Feather is farming quite nicely. The Celeste is still keeping up in farm with the Scarf. So overall, the damage output coming from that bottom side of the map is pretty strong right now. And that is something that Chimmy will have to keep in their back mind. The Black Feather is scaling. He does do well against the Kestrel. He does do well against the Scarf. And so we need to keep an eye on him at all times. Also, Chimmy don't feel comfortable enough to capitalize on a Ghost Wing. And Ghost Wing would certainly extend their lead and help them take those structures.
I totally agree with that one. They don't feel comfortable doing it. I respect the fact that they don't take it because they don't feel 100% about it. As far as the next few minutes, I really feel like there's a lot of pressure on Glaive. If Glaive can make some plays, things could very quickly swing back the other way. Talking about swinging back the other way, Bada Boom will knock Arden almost into the jaws of death, but K Vortex is going to stay alive. He turns around, he drops the gauntlet. Now, on the backside, Tony trying to wiggle his way back into a better position as Scarf chased him forward, trying to get something done. Scarf gets roasted on down. That was poor positioning and a questionable decision. Tiny Train's going to go down. This is exactly the fight the Toxic Pace we're looking for. Served up on a silver platter. Mist turns around, does find the stun onto Kino, so Kino's going to drop off of that. Toxic Pace taking a very clean fight right there, and it feels like it was definitely mistakes coming from the other team.
Oh, Chimmy committed everything to an Arden and then tower dived him. That was the mistake. I mean, there was no need to chase an Arden who's got plenty of survivability with his passive, plenty of survivability with his Vanguard, and then just try and get away with it. I mean, that was the mistake they made for sure. The fight's not done just yet, though.
Chimmy actually got that crystal buff right there now. Bright Boar goes down, they'll find the stun. This should be a dead Adagio. Hopefully, Kia doesn't die as well. A two-man taunt trying to pull him back under the turret, and Core Collapse just zoning out any potential aggression to follow forward on that. Toxic Peace feel like they're starting to get a little bit of traction here in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Another mistake, I think, on my own personal opinion in terms of itemization here, Humanist. Lyra doesn't need Fountain first. I mean, most captains don't need Fountain first in 5v5 right now. Would have been way better to have the Crucible to block the Catherine Silence or block the Arden Gauntlet. And you saw them pay for it in that fight because Scarf was blocked in.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analysis on that one right there. It's not as effective as it could be. We'll see. Maybe he makes some god play with his Fountain, and we'll come back and be like, okay, that was the right choice for the situation you put yourself in, but right now not quite making sense. In the meantime, though, this is Zarku and Kino Eden moving through the jungle, getting that weapon buff on the Blackfeather, and you talked about it, dude. This Blackfeather is scaling up quite nicely. He's very close to breaking point. And for any Blackfeather player, you would know, like, when you get Serpent's Pass plus Breaking Point, you got a couple levels, you are good to go. This is his time to fight.
I'm sure if anyone has ever played Vainglory and the history of Vainglory, they'll know how annoying the Arden Blackfeather combo is when it comes to 3v3 or 5v5. Super strong, here we go.
Let's go, Toxic Peace, they're in. They're gonna get a couple yummy. The Gauntlet, did he try to go over the wall, or he just got knocked back? I'm not sure how that one played out. Anyway, he got sucked back into oblivion. Double kill for the Blackfeather, who is #online.
Yeah, Blackfeather starting to hit. He's got that breaking point on. The Arden Blackfeather combo gives him the speed and the shield in the middle of the fight that makes him so hard to kill. This is the kind of combo that you want versus squishy targets on the backline like Kestrel and Scarf, and you saw how quickly with the Glaive combo he deleted that Kestrel. I mean, Chimmy just all over the place. They're not grouped up. They're not responding to map pressure. All of the early game advantage has been thrown away now as they have a 2,000 gold deficit to work back from. They're trying to go for the CP buff. They might lose their mid lane turret at the same time. This is good stuff from Toxic.
Good stuff there. And one shot will not connect. The Celeste able to kind of reposition there. It wasn't a vulnerable position, almost actually getting taunted back there. Solar Storm connects on a few. Gary's Disciple really just kind of playing this one slow and safe as Glaive rotates down from the top. Let's see if this Glaive can find an engage. Oh, they actually find the engage onto the Adagio before he even gets there. He'll just drop some twisted stroke. They still have the engage. The knockback onto the Tony as the rest of his team is silenced up. Dragon's Breath will come back the other way. Core Collapse finds a stun onto 2 from Chimmy, just dissuading them from even thinking about getting in there. And Toxic Peace, well, it felt like they're kind of just juggling everything that Chimmy can throw at them at this point, doing a great job. They've started up Blacklaw at this point even. They're taking this fight essentially 4 versus 3. K-Vortex holding the Fountain will pop at Catherine. Took a lot of damage, able to reposition and get back. Glaive's back in, trying to find the kill on Scarpa. Switches over to the Tony. Look at the damage go as they blast them down. Blackfeather's there. He'll take one. He's going to have mercy onto the Lyra because he's a good guy like that. He'll even take a one shot on the booty as he walks on out, just because, hey, why not?
Could have very easily have committed earlier as the Blackfeather there, but it's better to play it safe, I think, if you're Toxic at this point. You don't want to tower dive and potentially throw away the game. Also looking over, Adagio, Mr. Phoenix playing top lane Adagio. He's gone for a full CP Adagio after the Stormguard banner. That makes him just another target for Blackfeather to hit onto. You've got a Scarf and a weapon power Kestrel. I don't personally think you need much more damage, Humanist, than that. I think you could have gone utility Adagio, been all about those big heals to your backline targets to keep them safe versus the Blackfeather. I think this build is going to slightly hurt the chances for Chimmy to actually survive these fights as the game progresses. That's my only worry. I think he's also a very easy target for Blackfeather to stack on as well, simply because he's going to go down so quickly.
I agree with you, but let's theory craft it the other way. What does this give them?
What does this give them? Well, it does give them a little bit extra damage output. He did. I think he stole that. I think he got the CP and the weapon power buff. No, he didn't. No. He gets a little bit of extra damage output. They do have the mortal wounds coming from Spellfire, but Scarf also has that. It does give them really big damage from the Verse of Judgment. So when the dive comes in from the Blackfeather and the Glaive, they will be able to do a huge amount of burst damage.
Chimmy, was that a 3-man Core Collapse? And the Solar Storm hits on them all as well. The Gauntlet zoning out right against the edge of the wall. That's going to be Scarf going down at the beginning of this fight. Lyra kind of trolling this fight out with that Arcane Passage there, but that's 2 down from Chimney, and it looks like they could lose up to 4 or more, depending how this goes right here. Look at Celeste chase him down, weaving the basic attacks in between the Helio, even landed the core collapse. Now Mist turns around, we'll get one return kill. This is a 4-for-1. One shot connects, but the Vanguard is, the Stormguard was out there, so not a big deal. But Jimmy just kind of getting run down. Toxic Peace pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and Glaive able to keep soloing that Ghost Wing out with the Serpent's Mask. It gives him huge amounts of survivability because he has that passive lifesteal in there as well. Have a look at the defensive itemization coming out. Slumbering Husk, nearly Slumbering Husk for Kino. Lots of shielding and armor, and probably another Slumbering Husk coming out from Glass. That's going to nullify a bit of the Scarf's damage. The Kestrel Burst is also going to nullify that damage coming out from the Adagio ultimate, like we talked about, that big burst damage that he can provide, having gone the CP build route. But these are good. It's good itemization, really good defensive itemization from Toxic.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're looking for. I mean, there's a lot of that burst damage that's going to proc that off, and it I mean, like you said before, the Adagio already it feels like a weak point there. Now, what he brings to the table is actually even ineffective, and you know, it's going to take some godly plays, maybe some mismanagement of resources through these fights from Toxic Peace for Chimmy to kind of claw their way back in. 4K net worth advantage over to Toxic Peace. They are up 1-0 here in this series. We're almost 16 minutes into this one. They have a strong advantage. They have the momentum. Let's see if they can hold on to it.
And again, they actually scale nicely too, because you have a Celeste and a Black Feather, and that's always going to give you presence throughout the game. I actually think both of these compositions scale well. If the Adagio had gone utility, I think I would have been even favoring potentially Chimmy in the late game, because they have plenty of heal and plenty of a backline peel. But as it stands, there's an engage.
There's the engage. The silence is out. Lyra's going to die before that silence wears off. Could not arcane passage out of that one. Could not really do anything. Will taunt Catherine back into this. The verse comes out. Super defensive play, but that's how they wanted to play with this verse, and unfortunately nothing happens from that one. Missed! He walked into the gauntlet, didn't get stunned right back into it with an afterburn. You know, I'd like to say that was a nice play from Toxic Peace, but honestly, Mist just played himself.
Yeah, he walked a little bit too far forward. I just don't think he expected the re-engage, given how low the rest of Toxic Peace were. And now they pick off the Kestrel. Now, I do want to worry about the Scarf if I am going to be Toxic Peace here, but it looks like they don't even want to engage. Celeste is doing a great job of zoning them away from that Black Claw pit entrance area, and they are just going to back off.
All right, well, it's an interesting well, Tiny Train's moving in. Black Claw still has a fair amount of health. That one shot's going to connect onto the dragon here. And Tony, can you get something done before you're going to die? This is an interesting situation. Black Claw taken by the Black Feather. And with that Solar Storm coming on through, but not before the Glaive gets the kill. He'll get some crits and a double kill for himself as Adagio goes down. And I gotta say, it feels like Chimmy's starting to crumble.
Yeah, absolutely. Toxic Peace are also using this Black Claw a bit more effectively this time. As I say that, Black Feather and Celeste head down towards that bot lane, but there isn't that much resistance in the mid lane, so they should be able to put pressure on 2 turrets at least, and that'll be a good take from Black Claw. If Black Claw can get this second turret here, that would be a good take for me. They also have the ability to take Ghost Wing, so this is going to be a massive net global objective take in favor of Toxic Peace. And they also are going to start to apply pressure in that tier 2 in the bot lane too. They do have to respond to the wave that they can see coming in their top side, but not until after this Ghost Wing. They can reset after the Ghost Wing, and that should be a very, very easy slide to the end of the game from this point forward.
Look at that efficiency. Black Claw taking the turret down on his last breath. Well, his last hit, his last breath, so to speak. Tiny Train booting down onto the Celeste, really hungry to try and make something happen. That's going to put the Journey Boots on a long cooldown as he wasn't able to apply any damage to reset those.
Vision is really good around the middle portion of the map here for Toxic Peace. That's going to allow them to set up plays. And again, Vision is really important to a Glaive specifically because it allows you to pickpocket afterburns that sort of isolate heroes. Wait a second, is Arden going in by himself?
Nah, he's got a Black Feather with him.
Looks like it went well, though.
It is because they felt safe, but now they are not safe. Zarku's actually in Deep Cave Vortex as well. Let's see how this is going to play out. Kia turns around. There's a nice core collapse onto 2, and suddenly Chimmy going to tuck tail and run. Is starting to look okay for the Mist. You got to get back, Mist. You got to stay on the back lane. You're the Kestrel. They turn around. Black Feather Rose offensive in. He's doing his job. He's getting work done. Catherine will find the next kill. Looks like Tony's going to fall. They're going to chase him all the way to the healing platform, essentially. Kinu Eden, get him. Jimmy will go down as the triple kill, and the ace comes through for Toxic Peace. literally exactly what they needed to do, making it happen, Captain. And honestly, these guys are just playing lights out right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't have minion waves to work with, and that means they're going to be very unlikely to be able to straight up finish the game here. They are going to... Rip. They are going to try and face tank that in armory turret, but with everybody respawning, they can't even get the armory. So they didn't set up the minion waves correctly to capitalize on that fight, but it is just an omen for what is to come for the rest of this game. This looks like it's going to be lights out for Chimmy pretty soon.
It sure does indeed. You know, if I could get on the mic with them right, it's hard. It's really hard for the Kestrel right now, but Kestrel can't get caught like that. You know,
No.
There was the moment in that fight where I was like, okay, she's vulnerable, she's dead. And she survived a little bit longer than I thought, but of course Blackfeather is going to chase her down any time he starts to get on target.
And the problem is there isn't much to deal with Blackfeather on the side, because you've got... I mean, the capacitor plates come out for Adagio now. I think that's a good pickup. I think, obviously, if he'd been tankier, it would have been nicer, but overall, that's going to make the heal stronger. But overall, I mean, how do you deal with Blackfeather? If he just rose offensives through this Tony taunt, or rose offensives through the stun, there isn't actually much else to slow this guy down getting to your backline, and then he's just going to wail on those squishies super hard. He's also gone for a Sorrow Blade on top of his kit that he's got already, and picking up some critical strike. I mean, probably would have invested... Yeah, I mean, I do too. I might have wanted a reflex block on top of that just to make sure I definitely don't get caught out, but I mean, if you're ahead, you're ahead, right? 8-1 and 10 make it work.
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. I mean, as far as the tools, I would say like maybe you're saving Bada Boom for that situation as well, for peeling, and Verse only comes out when they're diving onto the Kestrel. Oh, they're gonna jump in, but Catherine secures the Black Claw. Now Chimmy are in a very awkward position. Tiny's in the pit just eating these Heliogenesis into Supernova. Kia is wrecked, and now Chimmy trying to run away as well. Mr. Phoenix, Mist, and Chimmy need to get back. This will be game over 100% if one of them die. And they have a little bit of damage. Maybe they can pick somebody. I mean, it's still an incredibly dangerous situation. Good chance this could be game over here. There's still the opportunity for them to get something done. Chimmy poking here. Spitfire's coming out. Zarku will go ahead and knock him back. Gary's Disciple trying to get onto target there. Will stun off the block off the first stun, but the second will connect. Chimmy just trying to kite back. They don't get enough damage down. It's only the Catherine to fall. Vein Crystal getting torn up from the floor up. And that's going to be GG. Toxic Peace coming through 22 minutes in, taking victory here in game 2, 24-12. Pretty impressive stuff.
And they get the ace, but unfortunately the game's already over. Alexa, play Despacito.
Despacito. I'll throw
Thanks,
it over
Alexa.
to the Despacito. Some Munchables and tasty bacon. Take it away, guys.
Right, what a series coming out for Toxic Peace in the end, 2-0. I'm actually just going to completely ignore all of the Alexa Despacito stuff going on there. Top quality meme, but Toxic Peace looking like the stronger team at the end of the day. That was a much closer game than game 1, though.
Yeah, definitely was not as one-sided as game number 1. So Chimmy did at least put up a fight here in game number 2, made it close. Made it look like, you know, for a moment there, it looked like they were going to be able to take this one, push us to a game 3. But in the end, Toxic Peace, once they got rolling, once their composition started to come online, they got their power spikes, they took over.
They certainly did, and we can take a look at our updated graphic now. Our bracket, sorry. This is now single elimination. This is the round of 16, and you can see Toxic Peace over in the A quadrant are now going to be going against Tribe next weekend. And that's an important thing to talk about now is this is what's going to be happening next weekend, the round of 16. That's where the big teams that you know and love are going to be playing. So make sure to tune in next week as well. That's where these big ticket matches are going to start to be happening for you guys. So make sure that you do tune in next week and you're sticking around for that one. But we have another series coming your way as well today. But let's just quickly have a bit of a refresher on what is happening in this tournament, how this all works for you guys. Let's take a look at our format here, brought to you guys by PokerGo. There are 5 weeks of play in total. Now this week, week 1, is the play-in round. What that means is anyone could enter this tournament. It was an open tournament. So if you just had 4 friends, you could join in. Now, the play-in round was basically the lowest seeds fighting out against each other to see who could make it into the round of 16, who was good enough to go against our top tier teams. And then next week onwards is when we're going to see the old pro teams getting on into the scrap, and we're going to see how these newer squadrons are going to be able to match up against them.
Yeah, you know, we saw in Europe, some of the teams look like they're going to be ready for these pro teams. Some of them not so much. They're going to need a little bit of work during this week before those matchups. So this is your chance, though, as these play-in teams, to make a run for it, to make a statement and make a name for yourselves. This is what it is all about.
Absolutely, and against Tribe, now Toxic Peace are going to be facing. That's going to be a difficult one, but let's talk about what's happening today, because we have more teams ready to jump onto the map.
Feels good to see
Liberation X up against Carrion next up. Liberation X, this is an old school Vainglory org.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to autumn 2015, the very first live championship for Vainglory. Liberation X come out on top after coming from behind in their series as well. And it was just such a great moment. It was the first time we were in person. And just take a look at the new Liberation X roster, or I guess the rebuilt Liberation X roster. And it's going to be Marto, Sam916, Status, and the man of many names, Demon.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a roster that you guys need to be keeping your eyes on. We mentioned these guys in the under the radar that we were talking about earlier. Liberation X, definitely a team in America that, they're coming in, they have to play in the play-ins because it's been a while since we've seen these guys on the map. But if they can win out this series, they'll be moving on to face Nova next weekend. So we'll have to see that one. Their opponents for this one is going to be Carrion, though. We've got Vex, we've got Bonjo, we have Sofa King, we have Mysterious, and we have Widow Fresh stepping onto Sovereign's Rise.
Yeah, obviously this is a team that, kind of a tall task right off the bat. Unless if they weren't around 2.5 years ago, maybe they don't have as much of an intimidation factor. But if you were around, if you followed Vainglory 2.5 years ago, you're looking across at Liberation X and you're like, this is a pretty big match, actually, just because of what the Liberation X name means within Vainglory. Like you mentioned, though, it has been a while. We don't know if Liberation X, are they going to perform up to the level that they need to? Because, if you perform the way you did 2 years ago, you're not going to cut it in today's landscape. You need to play better than you did 2 years ago. And for Liberation X, this is their chance to see if they have improved since then.
Absolutely, and to be fair to them, we've seen Status playing since then. We've seen Marto playing since then as well. So I fully anticipate that they're going to be kind of a new and improved roster. The big question for me is, Liberation X, this is the first time we're going to see them in 5v5, really. So that is another transition that we'll be seeing. But I anticipate that in terms of the identity of the team, the play style, that kind of thing, it's probably, we're going to be starting from scratch when it comes to that one. But let's take a look at some of the teams that are going to be the favorites here in North America. I think it goes without saying that Tribe are going to be right at the top of that board. That is an organization, not only the current reigning Vainglory World Champions, but then collaborated with Cloud9 to make a powerhouse 5v5 roster. Came third in the preseason, but then came first convincingly in the EPL. So excited to see what they can do here in the Summer Open.
The other thing about these teams is Tribe and Nova, both of those rosters unchanged from the preseason, but Vision Gaming, that's one that I think we really need. We're gonna have to spend a lot of time on when we get to their matchup, especially because TSM obviously is not competing anymore in Vainglory, but a lot of those players from TSM have reunited with their former teammates and are now back on Vision Gaming, and that can be a very scary team.
It certainly can. Vision Gaming is one of those teams that you've got to keep your eyes on moving forward, because they're one of the teams that is going to be very difficult to deal with. These are some of the other teams that, they're not the top 3 seeds, but they're definitely teams that you're going to have to watch out for. Obviously, Liberation X, we've just been talking about them, but then we have Hammers and Playful Fangs as well. Now, these two teams are ones that have a lot of the pros from 3v3 mixed into their rosters. So you anticipate that, especially when it comes to mechanics, they're already going to be top tier.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, Playful Fangs has Gaspy, Hyde, God of Sins. You look at Hammers, they have Ali Peterson, they have Junami, they have a lot of these guys that we've seen already playing, but obviously Liberation X about to play now, which is what we're waiting for. That's what I'm so excited for. Like a lot of people don't understand just how excited I am for this matchup, just because of the fact that the Vainglory Autumn 2015 Championship. It wasn't like it was obviously the first Vainglory live event, but it was also my first live event. So like seeing the team that won my very first live event back together again and playing together once more is just like. The nostalgia factor is just such a big moment for me.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to kind of revisit that as we move forward through the year here for Vainglory. But let's take a look again at what these guys are here for. What is on the line? This is our Dollar Shave Club prize pool. We have $5,000 up for grabs. 5 for Europe and 5 for North America. $3,000 is the top prize that you can achieve here and across just 5 weekends. But not only is it going to be $3,000, it's also going to be the title of the best in your region. This is a best of 3 single elimination tournament, and the winner will be the best in their region. But it's time to move on with our show and get on into our second best of 3 for North America. So Liberation X going to be on our A side and Carry On going to be on the B side to start things off.
And right away, it's actually Anka getting banned on the A side. That's very surprising to me because, again, we talked about the fact that you usually will leave that, let B side ban it or pick it up for yourself. So maybe Liberation X not comfortable with that hero, or you've talked about maybe don't have that hero on their account and they don't want to risk giving it over.
So Liberation X is actually on the B side here, and it's Carry On on the A side. So it's actually Carry On banning that one away. But once again, could be. I think it's less likely that
Repeat
they don't
what
have
I just
it.
said.
More,
just replace Liberation X with Carry On.
I think it's more likely that we have a situation where Carry On just aren't comfortable playing. It's not something that they want to take in. Bear in mind, this is single elimination, right?
Yeah.
If you lose this game, you're out of the tournament. So.
Well, not this game.
Well, if you lose this match, then you're out of the tournament. So definitely, it's something that you want to be playing heroes you're comfortable on, and apparently Reza is that answer.
Yeah, I mean, Reza is very strong. We've been seeing a lot of Reza either, picked or banned away, so they're going to be happy with getting that as a first pick. The Celeste coming through to kind of answer makes a lot of sense. We see Celeste all the time. She's pretty much in every game because she's not quite strong enough to ban away because of the other priority picks, but she's the next best thing after those heroes that get banned away. So we're pretty much going to see Celeste
We're going to see a Finn for the first time today. This is one of the captains I was expecting to be extremely prevalent. It's something we've really not seen a lot of today. We're finally going to see it locked in on the side of Liberation X, and the answer apparently is Ringo.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Ringo getting banned in our previous series, so maybe there's something to the Ringo pick that we haven't seen. Europe didn't seem to care about Ringo whatsoever. We didn't see him picked or banned there. I wasn't expecting to see Ringo be a high priority, but so far in our first 2 North American series, Ringo has been a heavy focus.
It certainly has, and we are going to see the Kestrel locked in there as well. So Kestrel has been something that we kind of seen on and off across today. It is definitely a pick that is viable. It's very strong, obviously huge burst damage, great consistent damage. Depends whether you want to go crystal or weapon power, but weapon power definitely longer term consistent damage, that's for sure. But it's a pick that we've seen is more about player preference than is about it being necessarily the strongest or weakest character.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one that's very similar to that is the Varia. We've seen a couple players take the Varia, but even though there are other options that a lot of teams will prioritize over the Varia, if you have someone who is just very comfortable with that hero, who feels confident in their ability to duel that Celeste, because you're going to be dueling that Celeste, and the Varia is the pick for the side of Carry On here, and then they're going to round out their composition with the Arden, so that's a pretty solid composition, you got to say. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a little more of a... The Ringo is really the only one that's kind of a surprise in that composition, but again, we've seen teams ban Ringo. We've now seen them pick the Ringo, so could be something there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to have to restart that draft, and I'm not 100% sure what happened exactly there, but we should be able to get everything fixed up once again for you guys. But yeah, definitely a very solid composition coming out. The Ringo, while it's a fringe pick, a weapon power carry is a weapon power carry at the end of the day. As long as you got some items, so long as you got a bit of attack speed, you're going to be able to...
it's not like Ringo's a bad hero. It's just the general consensus amongst most of the pros is that there are other heroes that simply do Ringo's job, but a little bit better. and so why wouldn't you take one of them if they're available?
All right, so this is the bracket that these guys are going to be looking towards. You can see LX/CO. That is the series that we are currently watching. So Liberation X and Carry On, whoever wins this game, they're going to be moving into the round of 16. They're going to have to go up against Nova Esports. Definitely a tough opponent, but certainly for a team like Liberation X, that's opponents that they've played against in the past.
They've played against these players before, like at least individually across multiple teams. You know, they've been on various rosters since the original Liberation X. Obviously, you know, you mentioned status. Sam is formerly known as E36. So he's been on a few different rosters. Demon, you could rattle off a list of names that he's been known as at this point. So he's been on a few different rosters as well. And so they've been around the scene. They've been involved, but they just haven't been together like this in recent memory.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited to see. Assuming that, or if they can win this series, I'm excited to see kind of this old school tussle take place.
That
We'll see,
brotherly synergy coming back with Status and Sam.
Absolutely.
Going, once again, running with each other.
Yeah, and we'll see if that kind of brotherly synergy, as you put it, is going to be able to carry them forward. But obviously, Carry On, not going to be an easy opponent to just toss aside. Or you'd expect. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this is the Open, so we'll have varying things happening here, but we can take a look at the results that have been happening across the course of today, brought to you by Razorphone. Obviously, over in Europe, we started things off with Great Invoxis versus Isu, but that was a 2-1 result in the end. And following that, we had Historic Esports managing to take out Sourblue. Historic looked incredibly good in that series.
Yeah, that was the most lopsided series that we've had thus far, and one of the most lopsided series that we've had in quite some time, honestly. Even in the preseason, you know, most of the games were not quite that heavily one-sided, but then in North America, we did earlier see a Toxic Peace take down Chimmy, and now we're going to get into this matchup.
We certainly are. We're going to be jumping straight onto Sovereign's Rise here. It's Liberation X going up against Carry On. Let's find out how this best of 3 is going to play out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Game 1 between Carry On versus Liberation X. I'm Huma Scoundrel, and we are into the game.
I'm excited for this one, Humanist. I have not seen some of these Liberation X players play for a very long time. This brings me back to like 2016 Vainglory. Good times, man. And
maybe you should stop eating crumpets then.
What's crumpets got to do with it?
No, I thought I heard you munching as we started in here.
I was actually
excited as well.
Well, I might be British, but it was actually mozzarella. I was eating a bowl of mozzarella.
Crumpets is my go-to when I'm memeing a British person eating on cast. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going to come in so quickly, and I had a bowl of mozzarella in my mouth, and I was like, I really want to finish this tasty bits of mozzarella. Anyway, we have an invade onto the CP buff here.
Tasty mozzarella, I'd expect no less. Look at Sam, Sacktown boys lighting him up. It's gonna be Winterfresh taken down to start. The Crystal Trant taken away. Liberation X flexing on their opponents within the first minute of this game.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the favorites coming into this. I mean, they've got such quality on their lineup. I mean, some of these guys obviously haven't played too much competitive as of late, but this looks like a foray back into the competitive Vainglory scene for some guys that I started my Vainglory. When I started Vainglory, these guys were playing on stage for, I think it was Liberation X. I think it was the 2016 Winter Championship, it I saw these guys playing in 2016, and this is how I
playing for Phoenix at that time.
Yeah, maybe. I think it might have been before 2016. You know? I think it might have been before like the mid, like 2016 Summer Championships. But regardless of it, it was like Xenotech, it was like Status, all these guys playing on stage. It was really good, and I love seeing these guys still playing, still hungry for competitive, and looking to style on Carry On, who are no scrubby team themselves. You know, they've got a bit of style to them.
Well, I mean, honestly, like, it's having some fun with your boys, right? Like, these guys, they're Vainglory players. These guys are friends, they're high-level players, but they're competitive dudes. So, you know, you can do a lot of stuff on your weekend, but they're in here, they're going to play some Vainglory, and I'm sure they're having a good time and looking to kick some ass.
Exactly, dude. Like, at the very base of any esport, it's just people that like to play games. Like, you don't play esports to make money. You don't play esports, you know, really to forge a full career out of it. Like, it's something that comes with having fun and comes with the passion that you had from doing it from the very beginning.
Status getting lit up by Banjo. Status holding his boots just to the end. Marto there to help his ally out. Glimmer shots over the wall, not going to be enough, but gotta be careful. The Springo's moving in hot here. 5 members over from Carry On, trying to secure up this Crystal Tran. At the same time, Demon's here as well. Who's gonna be able to get that? That actually went over to Winifresh. So these guys, a nice aggressive invade, but they will lose the Varia as Sam916 shows up. Marto dropping the quibble. WB Green, oh, nice afterburn. Sofa King 420 puts himself in a bad situation. He's gonna die. Let's see if they can chase someone else down now. Booting forward, Sam, he's on to the Catherine. There's good damage there, good follow-up. Probably just waiting for cooldowns. They'll find a stun. The boots, or the Merciless Pursuit, just out of that core collapse. Winifresh making the real, look at these plays. He probably calculated it all down. He knew exactly how much.
Oh.
Until Sam showed up.
Until Sam slams him with the afterburn. That was that was like bodyguard Arden guy, by the way. He's like, I give my life for you, Ringo. And it gives him that Vanguard that gets him out, but he ends up paying for it. But overall, net advantage is going to go over to Liberation X, who are going to start to clear out the enemy jungle too. So they're going to get 2 for 1 in terms of CP buffs. Although I think actually the invade one went over to Mysterious, so that's a lie. They're just going to get 1. God, step up, guys.
Yeah, I think Winifresh was the one to pick it up, but I don't know what happened after. Like,
maybe Mysterious managed to get that.
Yeah, but whatever the case, though, this is going to be pretty chill mid lane. I think this is going to be an easy with 2 on the front side.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special that's going to happen in this mid lane. Both Arden and Finn are good protectors for their mages in the mid. Until level 8, Celeste is not going to be going particularly aggressive unless there is going to be some reason for her to want to move forward and look for a core collapse. And Varia will definitely be waiting for that alternating current before she ever tries to go in. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty chill laning phase for the Celeste. The most action you'll see is from these invades that come on, and we have these small early game skirmishes.
Yeah, and as far as those early game skirmishes go, when you have the Crystal and the Glaive rotating together, making plays happen together, that is incredible damage. And pretty much, I guess, the Catherine is the only one that survives through that if she's caught out, if she actually survives. Look at her trying to tank up some damage here, but a couple Glimmer shots take her down sub 25% health there. Sofa King makes the rotation around the back, though. Our operation will find 2 bounces, but he walks right into the stun. Status predicting this one. Gets another active camo down and turns around, attack into the Glimmer. Mysterious dropping low. 1, 2, 3 punches her down. Status finding the kill. Sam just playing with his food, puts up Libex 5-1 as we get just about to the 6-minute mark here. Banjo's low in mid, has to pour it home. These guys are winning every lane now. They jump into Status. Status, has he gone too far? Winifresh just sitting on, what is that? How much? 5 health. The Sam's there. They turn around. They take down the Arden. Sam, he's chasing down their turret. Oh, man, he almost gets another one for himself. Status will get that scout cam down. Realizes there. Oh, no, he doesn't realize there's another scout cam there, I guess.
Yeah, he's going to back off. Just chill. That was a decent defense there by Carry On, but overall, again, the pressure mounting by Liberation X. They're going to get another Crystal Treant invade here. That's going to be 2 Crystal Treants now, 1 on Celeste, 1 on the Kestrel, who is CP Kestrel in the top lane, by the way. Probably jungling, of course, but is sat with the Glaive. Actually, maybe Glaive is actually jungling, and it is actually CP Kestrel top. So for some reason, I just assumed that was going to be CP Kestrel jungle and Glaive the top lane, and they were just for some reason sharing, but regardless.
You know, you make assumptions when you're playing against Sacktown Boys / 2015 Autumn Live Champion team here. Like, you can't just afford to make assumptions like that.
Actually, no, I think my assumption was correct. I think actually Status is playing CP Kestrel jungle. I just got confused because I got confused because the orientation of the map. Oh, great. Sofa King's coming in here.
Sofa moving in. Banjo's here. He's got an aftershock as well. This is four heroes from Carry On up here. Sam dipping down into the brush. He's found Varia. Now Varia is pretty squishy. They're not going to make a move. That's the smart decision. Where's Sam 916? I want to see this. I want to see this Samuel start to have an impact on this game. I would, you know, he's had a good time down in bottom. He's moved in towards mid. This could be a potential push coming out here. The turret is taken up in top. Great job by the Glaive and the Kestrel, as you'd expect. And with Sam 916 moving into mid, they easily take this turret as well. The question is, can they get out? Oh, I said they take the turret easily, but they threw it back the other way. Jabir and Demon, he's down. Sam 916, he'll eat a Hellfire Brew. Marto dropping low, healing flask at the last moment. He's gonna be just fine, but that turret was on a sliver of health.
That Oblivion was sick coming out from Sam, and that's going to keep him safe, potentially even save that mid lane tier 1 while the Celeste respawns. So while that turret is on a sliver of health, that might be enough for them to then return to that lane. And remember, everyone's committed to this bottom side of the map. If Carry On were brave, they might have gone for the Ghost Wing here. I think Sam's going to have to be super careful. This is turret dive potential, and it looks like he's just going to have to back off.
Are you calling them not brave at the, or are you just questioning their decision?
I'm saying, like, I'm questioning his decision making when I say brave.
Banjo! Whoa, he's able to get out of that with a Netherform detonator. Now the T1 turret will go down in mid. Sofa throws the Wild Gauntlet. You'll get that one back in 120 seconds. No big deal, not like it's a long cooldown. In the meantime, Blast Tremor is going to be on cooldown as well, as nothing will come of these big ultimates being dropped here. But
oh, baby!
Hello! This is a Finn on the map. They'll take down the Varya. Wrecked Afterburn. Sofa back as Lip X find 2, putting themselves up 8-3, 9 minutes in.
Knew there was very little way to punish that. There was no Crucible on the map right now versus the Finn, and the Arden Gauntlet had already gone down. That was a really easy pull for Marto to make. Wait a second, status.
Yeah, you're very vulnerable to the Resolute. Like, if to easily get on just start that up with a fire starter into the follow, he's gonna proc that aftershock, he's gonna tear you down, and that's a great kill by that Reza there. Exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, and Reza is one of those few threats on the composition coming out from Carry On that will be able to threaten the likes of the Kestrel and the likes of the Celeste. The choice is, in the late game, which one do you try to threaten? You probably have to make a decision while Ringo and Varya can dive the other. That is something that is good about the carries that you see coming from Carry On. They have decent dive potential. Ringo with Twirling Silver just pops that in, tries to get those basic attacks off. Obviously, the Varya can stun, so the Varya can dash into the backline. You have to be able to navigate your way through a Finn, and a Glaive, and potentially even a Samuel, but
well, tell me what you think. I think this Ringo has to go Breaking Point, and he just picks it up, and he has to stack up on the Finn before they make any, like, he can't put himself in any vulnerable situation until he has Breaking Point stacks.
Yeah, but then that's when it comes down to a race. You're going to have, I mean, the one problem that you do have is that you're pretty much all CP damage in terms of your powerhouses coming from Liberation X, so it makes itemization very easy. Slumbering Husk counters a lot of what you want to do here as Liberation X. But you have to somehow get to a point where you're out damaging the consistent output of a late game Celeste and a CP Kestrel as this Ringo. So even if you're stacking up on the Finn, if he's moving backwards and putting you in range of Heliogenesis, that's where you've got to be really careful. So yes, I agree. I think Breaking Point is a really good item, but you have to be very careful about how you execute in the teamfight situations.
Sam getting aggressive here, jumps in with the Afterburn. The Gauntlet's down, finding the... He tries his best. His best is not enough at this point. I keep seeing these active camos coming down. I think what we're trying to see, Status is trying to set up active camos for Marto to pull into. If they can get that off, they'll surely kill whoever gets pulled.
Yeah, what I'm seeing a lot from these teams is they are making decisive engages when one of their team members is in base. Like, Celeste was in base before they started that fight. She's probably one of the main win conditions of this entire composition. The Samuel's gone for a more utility-focused build with the Frostburn, so really there to facilitate Status and Demon, who are going to be doing the main powerhouse damage. I'm just slightly worried. Wait a second.
Status. He's in a bad place. Status is going to turn around. Marto uses the pull. That's on cooldown 70 seconds. Keeps his ally alive. Now Demon moves down. He's in a vulnerable position. His Banjo's there. Core Collapse not going to matter. Netherform Detonator over the top like an acrobat. Status will connect onto the stun, but nothing to follow at this point. They don't have pull. They don't have their Celeste. And Blackclaw is on the map, but Carry On are going to play this safe. I think they're going to drop into mid and try to shove this turret down.
I've been so... I don't know about you, Humanist. I have been so impressed with Bonjo. He has been excellent with the use of those Netherform detonators to escape CC and make sure he's securing those kills. Though I just say that...
You cursed him!
I cursed him. I'm sorry.
Dude, you should pick a random name out of chat and, like... Sam? Sam's going to be okay.
Well, somehow Liberation X get away with that. That was a risky piece of positioning from Marto, given that Samuel was pushing that bot lane. What I do want to see from these guys now, both of these teams could really utilize this. Set up a slow push in your side lanes. That's going to create pressure that the enemy is going to have to deal with. Once the pressure builds up in one of the lanes, you go to the opposite objective. So if it builds up in the bottom lane, if you're Carry On, you go towards Blacklaw. If it builds up in the top lane, you go towards Ghostwing. And then you try and take one of these global objectives off the map. Just set up a slow push, make it happen over the next 30 seconds to a minute, and that's going to give you great advantage pressure over these major objectives that have not been touched in this game as of yet.
I think that's a really good point. You know, to that, hold that. Drifting Dark comes out here. The pull over the wall. Oblivion's going to try and disrupt this fight here, but it doesn't matter. They're fighting in the choke point. Sam moving in. Won't be able to clean up on anything. A lot of damage being spread around, but it's time for Carry On to back on up. The fountain comes out just at the nick of time. Arden's able to stay alive, but the Helio comes through. Demon clips him just on the max range. Now, Status wasn't here in the beginning of the fight, but he's here now. Sam moves in. They've got the damage. Crits him down. Betrays his own life. Level 8 on the Finn means he gets the stun with that quibble to land. Hellfire Brew, not too big of a deal. This is a weapon Ringo, but at the end of that, that's a 3-for-1 trade. LibX coming out on top. They're gonna go ahead and just shove on forward, maybe try to get a little damage down onto this T2, but they gotta wait for the next wave. Heroes are gonna start making their way out on the map. They're gonna go and back off.
Yeah, they might not be healthy enough to take this one on right now. Mysterious is yet to find his second tier 2 item, which I imagine will be a Dragon's Eye, just finished, just now, which means that's going to give him plenty of presence in these elongated team fights. And like you said, if they can stack up on the Finn and the Glaive, kite backwards, and then re-engage when they have those stacks built up in the breaking point in Dragon's Eye, they can all threaten that backline of the Kestrel and the Celeste really easily. This is all going to be how these team fights come down. One thing I have been super impressed with, by the way, is Sam on the Glaive. His afterburns have been lit. I mean, they've been so good. Really, really good stuff coming out from him.
Whoa! Status! Man! He just found like a 2-man stun, almost took down Bonjo from like a mile away. Oh, look at the glimmers. He would have canceled it off. That teleported. A very defensive blast trimmer comes out as Carry On move back into a safer position. They're going to have to heal up before they get back out onto the map. Means LibX can kind of set their footing here and get prepared. They'll start to capture up the Ghostwing.
Yeah, good.
I was gonna say earlier about to your point of like shoving one lane and then fighting on the other, taking an objective. They can do that especially well because of these 2 globals they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what's happening right now. Ringo's going to deal with it very early on, which is good. What I want to see from Liberation X is move up towards that Blacklaw, start to pressure, start to posture around that area. Really good stuff from Ringo, because there isn't an easy way to engage for Liberation X yet because they don't really see anything on the map. Oh, this is a great move from Sam, though.
What were you saying about Ringo?
Yeah, see you, mate.
Dude, your cursing is on point. It's a caster curse. He's not... Don't find him, guys. Great caster. Demon, you're in a bad place. Demon taken down. Carry On. You know, you put yourself in a vulnerable position, they will follow up. They've proven that these guys know how to play the game, and they're able to take down a Celeste, so that's a great take for them. Sam makes his way back over into mid, though.
Do you know what? It's actually been really impressive decision-making from both teams. That was a big commit by the Glaive to deal with the split-push Ringo there, as well as the Sam. That made it a 4 versus 3 in the mid lane. That was an Arden Gauntlet in, and they take down one member to even up the odds. That was a really decisive and good move coming out from Carry On. And now with Ringo probably having to commit to that bot lane at some point, Blacklaw is a really good posturing spot for Liberation X. They'll probably be able to get that pretty soon, or at least threaten that pretty soon. As soon as Ringo shows his face, Liberation X probably going to head straight over to Blacklaw to start pressuring it.
If you can force 3 of your opponents to rotate for you, and you don't die, you're able to get out, that's a win. You've wasted the resources of your opponents. But just there, Sam takes the turret, forces 3 rotations, and gets out. So that's just a double win. And that's just going on top of what you said about Sam before. He's having a hell of a game here.
And look, Ringo didn't even de-push the lane properly. That's going to slowly build up, I think, in favor of Liberation X. Should be able to, with the next wave come in, start to shove back towards them. And that should slowly put pressure on that bottom side of the map, and Blacklaw will then start to be an issue, and it already is.
Blacklaw already an issue. Carry On. It feels like they want to do late to the unless Sofa can do something now. He is just way too late here now. Kath moving in, trying to get something done. On the front side of this fight, the pull down to 3. Where's the follow-up? Sam knocks them back. They delete this Varia off the map as Sofa drops the elbow, but it's about 30 seconds too late. That'll be 2 down, plus Blacklaw marching down the lane, and this is what's up. You're playing against LibX. Plays like this are gonna happen.
Oh man, and they're going to start to shove this in. I was wrong about the bot lane, by the way. That's actually shoving towards LibX, but it doesn't matter because they are just going in.
Was that a blast trimmer onto 5 there? Talk about value. Sam almost going down. Status moving in, really trying to get some work done, trying to find a pick, and it's going to be okay. Carry on. I don't think they lose off of this push unless something crazy happens here, but definitely on the back foot.
They're just going to try and go for this armory. They need to be very careful, though, because the rest of Carry On have respawned. They're looking to go in for a fight.
Yeah, they've got Demon. They'll be looking for more. Marto's incredibly low. Marto should be left dead. So I think... No, he's got boots. Does he get himself out of the status? Turns around for the one shot. Won't be finding a kill himself. Marto actually out of this? That's nuts.
I think he's very close, though, because I think Reza with just another beat. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there you go. It just took a long time. Another 4 detonator in. Bonjo, you know what, he was getting these plays off through the early and mid game, but kind of falling flat here towards the end.
They're going to go for Ghost Wing. Really nice capitalization. And actually, the top lane turret ended up going down because of a monstrous minion wave. Now, Liberation X, if they want to put themselves back in a good position, they have to set these lanes up like we talked about, let them slow push towards the enemy. I would be slow pushing this top lane and then heading bottom because there's not going to be Blacklaw on the map for quite some time. And I want to make sure that the bot lane is going to be my focus here. I want the top lane to start getting pressured by itself, and I want as a unit to be able to focus that bot lane tier 2. That would be my ideal scenario as Demon. Mike, oh, he actually catches out Bonjo.
Oh, man. That was completely blind, right? Am I right there? No. Oh, no. It's worth it. It's worth it. You land a blind, you get an almost kill. You know, you can brag about that one.
Definitely blind. They're trying to capitalize here, but unfortunately, Sam on the glaive, not in the right position.
Yeah, if Status can get repositioned, Marto's got to pull. Look for this to, you know, it's a pullback. That one was kind of awkward. Stun will land onto one. The other one had that one blocked off. Sam is now here. But this is the kind of the moment we were wishing that you had the pull. Like, if you could boot into a better position, get a pull, but not a big deal.
No, not at all. You lose one member here up in 10 seconds. They should be able to regain composure. Let's have a look at items right now as well. You can see late game item build. I mean, Eve of Harvest coming out for Demon. I have been questioning whether Eve of Harvest is a decent item anymore. I think I would have just preferred Spellfire in most scenarios. But if you're looking for the sustained fight, which against something like a Varia and a Ringo, that might be ideal, then you do get big healing from your ultimate with Eve of Harvest, so you do have to be aware of that. And there isn't really, there's no mortal wounds. There is actually no mortal wounds. There's no poison shiv and no spellfire on the enemy team, which means that your Eve of Harvest is going to get value. So there is actually a decent argument for Eve of Harvest here for Demon, and he looks like he's gone for it.
I guess, but it feels like if poison shiv's getting applied, like you're already dead. Marto will throw that hook, will not connect. Bonjo gets hit in the face with that one shot. It's pretty significant damage, but they gotta be careful. They will run into the choke point. Marto controlled this pretty well. Sam kiting back. Demon has to boot and try to reposition here. Make those healers go supernova. Sam and Status find one. They're looking for Mysterious. They'll find two. Bonjo has dropped back. This is what he needed to do, but he's about a half second too late. He's down. They're gonna lose their Arden as well as the ace comes through. And ladies and gentlemen, that should be the game as LibX close out on an incredibly strong fight.
Yeah, what an insane flank between Sam and Status onto the back line. Status biding his time, Sam looking for that key point onto Varia, and this is going to be game, Humanist.
It's going to be game, and, you know, hey, no surprises here. Carry On came in, they made some nice plays, they stood their ground, but LibX, we know what this team's capable of. They put it together, and it looked great. It feels good to see these guys back in action.
So, looks like Liberation X going back to winning ways. I was questioning sometimes some of the builds, some of the choices that they made, but overall, pretty clean execution, and they will find themselves 1-0 up in this series.
1-0 up in the series, and with that, back over to our analyst desk.
All right, Liberation X back on form, managing to take their first game of this season and doing it in style as well. It felt like a confident win from them. There were definitely a couple of moments of maybe it felt like it could go the other way, but all things considered, Liberation X were ahead the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, most of the times when it felt like Carry On was like maybe working their way back in, a lot of it was Liberation X kind of overstaying on a push or, you know, extending a little bit too far in certain situations. But for the most part, great calls throughout, especially that last team fight was really, really clean from Liberation X. Using the Finn to kind of body block in that choke point, using the Polite Company to sort of keep everyone in that choke point that little bit of extra time so that the AoE damage could rain down on them. And then, of course, Sam on this glaive, you know, fell off a little bit in terms of the damage and what he was able to do in fights in the, you know, mid to late game, but comes through huge at the end by getting onto the backside of that team fight to take out the squishy carries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things Glaive offers that not many other bruisers offer is the repositioning as well. Like that, while he falls off in terms of damage a little bit at the end of the game, repositioning never falls off. So definitely strong stuff coming out from Liberation X. Now we can take a look at some of the new items that have been coming on into the game because we've been seeing them across the course of today, and I want to talk a little bit about each of these and how they're kind of impacting the game. We have seen all three of them across today. Obviously, Capacitor Plate is kind of specific to like Adagio and Lyra really, but the other two have been much more, they've been seen generally across the board.
Yeah, I mean, especially the Pulse Weave, I think, is probably the most common of these new items because even non-captains pick up the Pulse Weave sometimes, but we do see all three of these items getting picked up. A lot of times, you know, certain captains will pick up 2, even 3 if you're like really doing well and you're getting towards that 6th item and you're like, what do I want to buy? Oh, you know, Pulse Weave sounds good right about now. You know, that little bit of the utility that they provide is actually massive.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be huge, and if in the right situation, stacking them sometimes works out. But let's take a look at the new heroes that have been coming on in today as well. We have seen some of these. We saw a lot more in Europe than we did in North America.
Yeah, North America has not really been prioritizing the Kensai or the Anka, and even really the Kinetic, I think, is the biggest surprise that we saw it pretty much every game in Europe. Hasn't really been as much of as prevalent in North America.
We have seen some bans towards it,
Yeah.
so it's not been completely unseen, but in terms of allowing it into the pick pool, it's definitely been off the table. Anka is the one that I'm really surprised at how little we've seen of that, because it's been banned a lot, but even the times that it slipped through bans, it was either not picked or just didn't really have a performance. And, you know, when you go into solo queue, Anka is like this terrifying beast. I was anticipating that to be the same here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very popular hero in ranked queues, and, you know, the CP Assassin is very strong, has an incredibly high skill cap, but I think a lot of it is just that familiarity. It's very similar to, you know, things like the Maline, where we didn't really see Maline get allowed through all that often. We saw, I think, once in preseason where she actually didn't get picked or banned, and it was just teams just not wanting to deal with it.
All right, well, we are into the draft, and we have Anka and Kinetic both banned by Liberation X. There's going to be Reza banned by Carry On. Curious what this last ban will be to try and deny something from Liberation X. They have the first pick. Won't be surprised to see them go for something. Yeah, they could even just go for like a Finn first pick once again. It was something that worked incredibly well for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see something like a Finn or even a Glaive ban, but they're going to take the Kestrel off the board. I mean, Kestrel was very much a impactful hero in that last game. Early on, it was Status and Sam teaming up with the Kestrel Glaive combo to just get so far ahead early on.
Absolutely. Fortress will be the first lock-in here. Fortress is a first pick we've seen a lot across the course of today. Just a very strong captain right now, very versatile, and that's going to be going up against Lyra. Again, very strong in the current meta. Did get a slight nerf to the healing 3 to 5, but still an exceptionally strong captain.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Lyra is used for, you know, you have those slows. The Bulwark is really the main feature that you look to Lyra for. The healing is great, obviously, but the healing's still there. So having a little bit less healing isn't enough to kind of make her not be a viable hero anymore. That's not the key facet of her kit. It's all about being able to portal onto a team, put down that Bulwark, and just keep them from being able to move. You then add Adagio to the mix, and now that healing suddenly becomes almost amplified because you're going to have 2 sources of sustain from having those two heroes on your team.
Yeah, I think that the Lyra and the Adagio are both incredibly strong right now. The only thing I would bring into question is locking them in when Fortress is already on the other side. They've kind of already built a counter around that. Obviously, it's not a hard counter. They're still going to be effective heroes, but definitely less effective with Fortress in the game. Ringo and Glaive going to be the next two lock-ins for Liberation X. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did fix a little bit. They took that Ringo instead, but it was Ringo on the side of Carry on last game. But again, this Ringo early in the draft getting picked up.
Yeah.
Still very, again, surprised isn't the right word, I don't think. It's just more...
it's not surprised to see him, it's surprised to see the prioritization.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Like, Ringo is one of those picks that you expect to see kind of late in the draft, and there's like, all right, well, you know, a couple of these heroes are picked already. You know, they don't have a counter to him, so let's just grab a Ringo. It's that comfort pick. Everybody knows how to play Ringo. If you're at this level in Vainglory, you know how to play Ringo.
Yeah.
So it's just that kind of, he's kind of like the default hero for Vainglory in a sense.
Yeah, he certainly is. And we're going to see the Malign locked in, as well as a Celeste here. So that is going to be the composition rounded out now for Liberation X. They have a pretty squishy composition in all honesty, but a huge amount of damage to be working with.
Yeah, I mean, the only real sort of bruiser is going to be that Glaive pick, and, you know, we've seen that Glaive, if he gets caught out, he is not going to be that durable. If you get 4 members targeting a Glaive, he's going to drop very, very quickly. So not a lot of durability, not a lot of sustain on the side of Liberation X, but we've seen a lot of teams build compositions similar to this already today.
Absolutely, and it's kind of like a pick composition. Glaive just enables that pick availability. On the other side, we did have a pretty strong composition as well. We had Tony to round it out as well as a Vox. Let's take a look at our Razer phone bracket as we head on into this one. Just want to remind you guys that the winner of this series is going to be moving on to take on Nova later on in the tournament. Now, bear in mind that this is best of 3, but it is single elimination. So if Liberation X can win just a singular extra game, they will be moving on to take on Nova later on in the tournament. Carry On will be going home empty-handed without even a carry-on luggage. We'll have to see. That was terrible. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to have what it takes to come back in this series. I certainly hope so. The composition feels very strong. The Lyra Adagio combo, plus they have very good sustained damage. Does feel...
Here we go for game 2. X look to close this series out against Carry On, coming back with a bit of the same draft remixed, with Carry On themselves come back, kind of a whole new thing here for them.
Yeah, well, it's a very aggressive draft from Liberation X. So you really only have one button here, which is go hard or go home with the Fortress and the Glaive combo. Sam going in though.
Sam's got one button. It's called Jabate! Bonjo, what are you doing? First blood. Liberation X, strike hard and fast. They'll take the weapon treant as well. Look at the value. They'll take a scout cam down as well. Marto even wants the gold oak. I guess he's going to try and take this by himself. His team's like, yo, we got other things to do.
Yeah, and he's actually been spotted out by some visions, so he's going to have to be super careful. They can see him there. Might not be able to get this gold oak. The fact that he's sitting as a captain Fortress means that he doesn't have that Storm Guard banner to be able to take that down with the true damage. I would be careful, Marto. I would be very careful.
Marto knows what he's doing, bro. Marto, honestly, this is a championship level player, and you know, he's just rolling the dice a little bit. He gets in there, he forces some rotation, he's back out. Now he's just getting vision. Look at it. This is the second scout cam taken down of the game. Exactly what you want your captain to do.
What a bad boy. What an absolute monster. Just
what
killing
you
it right now.
What you gonna do?
But they did get both weapon side
Sam?
jungles, and actually Sam is...
Sam 916 Bonjo put into the dirt.
And this is already looking good for Liberation X so far. Humanisto, they in a good position. That's a good stun by Demon.
Nice stun by Demon as well. So Marto saw that too.
Oh, wait a second. Status is trying to dive. Oh, he's going to be careful. Gets away with it. Winterfresh has got No flask, and he's on low HP. I mean, how do you survive this?
If he gets rooted, he's dead, right? Look at Sam! Sam's in! Sam! Oh, that's literally just the perfect play. Now he's probably going to jabait Bonjo back. And he'll drop into the shadows. Taunt not going to matter. Status. Moving in with that twirling silver. They'll get some good damage down. They won't dive under the turret, though, because that would be too crazy at this point.
Yeah, that was a good debate there. Again, the 1, 2, and as soon as he goes for the 3rd stun, you pop that pull and stop him from doing so. Ringo didn't get taunted in, but not a big of a deal because Ringo wasn't the target. And honestly, super aggressive composition from Liberation X. It means they do punish when they're ahead as well. So if they can maintain this course, they will win this game very quickly because, again, they're constantly able to engage fights with the Fortress and the Glaive. Got super high burst damage coming out from the Celeste and the Malign, as well as Ringo even to an extent in the mid game too. If you look over the side, we haven't even had a chance to talk about the side of Carry On. Yeah, they have actually got a very standard, what I would call a very standard meta composition. A utility, well, hopefully a utility Adagio in the top lane. You have a Vox in the bot lane paired with a Tony jungle, who's in a really good spot right now. And then a Lyra Samuel mid. I mean, this would be my classic tier 10 EU game. I mean, this is very, very standard from them. The problem that they will have is there's not many ways to prevent the engage apart from that Lyra B again, and that really only comes down to Sofa's personal use as he gets a kill with Mysterious.
Oh, rip. Gets the crystal buff, gets the kill, and I think Sam might have even used, he used boots to get there, so that's boots on a very long cooldown as well.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sam very close to a very small power spike, well, not very small, pretty decent power spike though, in the form of that Aftershock. Now, a lot of people are talking about whether you build Aftershock on Malign these days. Because of the cooldown nerfs, I think it's kind of necessary. I think having the cooldown with the Aftershock is really important to her, and it synergizes really well with her kit. But I like to build Shatterglass first, then go Aftershock. I like Aftershock as a second item on Malign.
Okay, makes sense to me. And then that's going to matter, of course, like, based off of the matchup that you're dealing with, right? Like, what are the triggers for you to making that call?
Well, if I'm going up against someone who doesn't spike early on, so say I'm facing a Celeste in lane or I'm facing a Varia, I will go for a Shatterglass first, because if I can get ahead, I will punish them much harder than if I'd gone for the Aftershock. The Aftershock then comes in second when I'm starting to deal with the front line a bit more, and I want to have that split damage on the cooldowns as well as its cooldowns being really useful to get my rotations off in team fights. So that's my theory in decision making. If I'm up against someone who's going to spike a little bit earlier, I'll take the Aftershock for the cooldowns, because it's really important to give me the extra mobility in lane, as well as the ability to use my pull more often and make snares happen more often. So it really just depends on who I'm going up against.
I think that makes sense. Libex moved up from mid toward, and it was a pretty decent rotation, but the vision down from Carry On mean that nothing was actually going to come of that. They had vision, they had information on those rotations, and would not be caught by surprise. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and I like how aggressive Liberation X are being as well. I mean, they are really not holding back, even though Celeste doesn't naturally spike this early on into the game. Malign is making big moves with Marto here, going for the invades on the crystal buffs. Kestrel then rotates back up towards the top to help the 2v1 situation with Sam. I mean, I'm been thoroughly impressed with how just how power on Liberation X have been.
Dude, Libex is always power on. These guys lift, bro.
Oh damn, dude! Oh no, I do remember seeing that. They lift like mega mounts.
Mega mounts, dude. Okay, Vox goes down. Bonjo almost going down. And Demon and Sam 916 force him out of his own jungle. Your jungle belong to me, and status dives the turret. A level 6 Ringo here. He's got a Sorrow Blade to his name, boots on cooldown, getting the kill, making the plays. They'll take the turret as Mysterious shows up to try and hold the lane. What a play.
This is not looking too spicy for Carry On right now. They are 4k gold down, almost, about 3.5. And tower dives with a Ringo are happening. And your utility Adagio is struggling to get past his Storm Crown right now. He's just picked that up. Really doesn't have any sort of useful items for skirmishes. And now Liberation X at this point, they're hitting item spikes. They're hungry for blood. They're looking for engages, and that's what's going to happen in the top lane.
Interesting arcane passage there. Maybe just enough to confuse Libex to back off for a second here.
Well, if you can't beat them, confuse them into knowing what's going on, and then
they're like, I don't know what's going on, man, but I don't feel good about it.
It's just like, they obviously have done this for a reason. It looks weird. I better not mess with it.
I better not mess with it. It seems like a pretty strong play here. And it'll thwart the aggression for a moment. But in the meantime, this is Libex. They dropped into the jungle. They're being efficient with their time and their rotations. Even when they stop off that push, they're making sure they're getting farm onto their key heroes, doing a great job. And in the meantime, Status continues to just shove down this bottom lane, and Marto's moved down as well. Marto just ticking to level 6, so we have attack of the pack ready. Oh, Mysterious getting put down by Demon in the mid lane. Action in both lanes here. Let's see if they make the move onto Status.
No, Status is just gonna back off here. I think he's very strong right now. He has got a level advantage, 2 level advantage over Winterfresh, and unfortunately Tony not level 6 means he's also down in levels compared to these two guys. I think they're just very happy to try and clear the waves at this point with that Storm Crown. No point trying to take him on in a direct engage. Crystal Treant has respawned. There's going to be no contest from the side of Carry On. And Marto even looking for a cheeky invade onto the doubles.
Yeah, Marto getting it done there with Status. Still has attack of the pack ready to go. I mean, someone's about to get torn up here. I feel like they're just going to pull the trigger and go hard. Level 8 Celeste uses boots to get back. That was a great call because the Drifting Dark meant Mysterious was going to light him up there if he got on target. Where do you think the aggression is going to happen on the map? We see some rotations towards top.
Yeah, I feel like top lane tier 1 is a target for Liberation X. They've been trying to gun for that for quite a while. You can see Sam on the Maline now trying to be aggressive on the back line. I do feel like there is a massive reason to go for Ghostwing at this point. Like, you have such an advantage on the bot side of the map. Ghostwing is a really key target to take, and something that we saw in the last game, both Liberation X and Carry On avoided Ghostwing. There's an engage.
Yeah, engaged your own team almost there. That was pretty interesting. Sam will go down, and looks like maybe Sam 916 as well. What should have been 2 easy kills becomes just 1, plus your team took a bunch of damage. And it just felt a little awkward. You got to be careful. You can definitely troll your team out with that Arcane Passage. Now, weapon buffs on the ground. That's not efficient. Attack of the pack comes out here. Demon moves in. Boncho getting blown up. The Tony is down. And Samuel just drifts through that dark. Gets pretty good damage down. Nothing going to follow up on that. And it's Libex 7-2, 10 minutes in.
And Sam has just ignored it, gone for that top lane tier 1, and is now shoving that wave into the tier 2 in the top lane 2. That's an interesting Lyra portal.
I think he should rename himself to Interesting Lyra.
I think that'd be better than Sofa.
Dude, when you're a king, I guess you can do whatever, right? Mysterious. There's Drifting Dark.
Especially on 420.
Nice core collapse. Zones him out of it, so he gets wrecked. Libex. Aggressive maneuver, and they find 2. And with this, they do whatever they want. And it looks like what they want is the Crystal Treant.
Yeah, Crystal Treant, that should give them an easy sort of dominant area over this side of the jungle. They're searching for kills, though. They could see Blanjo overextended.
Talk to me about, and maybe if they go on Bonjo, talk to me about this Vox right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this Vox. It's okay. So he's... sorry, I've been awake a long time. It's my brain is starting to slow down considerably. Yeah, so this is a Vox build that's become very popular. Oh, wait a second.
They get the turret, but now Bonjo from behind. Status actually gets the Hellfire Brew off and the boots. Marto, his cooldown's coming off here. He might turn this one around now. It's 4-2. Status is gonna die. I felt like maybe they'd make the hero plays there, but Status will go down. Nice kill over here for Carry On. That gets them up to 3 kills here, 11 minutes in. Now, though, Demons made the move down. 4 versus 3. Taunt will not connect. Bonjo's in. He's onto the Celeste. They need some follow-up there. Demon stands his ground, drops the Solar Storm, but he goes down. That'll be the 4th kill of the game. Very quickly for Carry On. They do need this Glaive to either take something up top or get involved, because he has a lot of impact right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam here trying to put pressure on the outside of this Ghostwing. Really impressed that Carry On went immediately for this. There's been so many times this game that Liberation X could have done the same. Here's the engage.
Is this the throw? I don't know. Oh, they've got 1 kill right here. They dip back. They don't lose anybody. Oh, this Lyra's incredibly low. Has the healing flask though, but Status has made his way back. Status is gonna wrap around here. No! Can somebody show this guy how Arcane Passage works, please?
Maybe he's playing Maybe he's playing Lyra for the first time. He doesn't quite know that you can.
If I just portal into the wall, I should go through it, right?
Okay, one of the major mistakes that a lot of new Lyra players make, and maybe even experienced Lyra players, they don't realize that it actually is a variable range ability, and you can click at any point in the circle, and that's where you'll end up. It doesn't just cast at a normal range. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't just cast at the same range every time. That's something that I used to make as a mistake all the time as Lyra. I just always thought, why is my Lyra portal not going very far? and I realized actually you can determine the range. Maybe he just doesn't realize you can actually determine the range of the Lyra portal. I'm sure he does. I think he's just misclicking or whatever.
Two mistakes this game, and he's got both of our bases covered because my Lyra portaling in front of my allies and sucking them back into the middle of the fight. Right now, LibX, they are getting aggressive one more time. Solar Storm will take Tony down. Sofa looks like he's going to be the next to fall. And they may even go for more. Demon Low, but still just dropping bombs over here on Carry On.
Yeah, and they should be able to convert that into a global objective. Most of Liberation X's play has been really good. The only thing that I would say they could improve is the fact that they do not commit to things like Ghost Wing hard enough when they have advantages on the map. Yeah, their turret taking is really good. The rest of their map play is really nice. They've got great ganking presence. They've got great team fighting ability. But they could be ending these games much quicker by capitalizing on more global objectives, namely Ghost Wing.
LibX will go ahead and fall back. They're going to take away the jungle. That's the Gold Oak being taken by Demon, split up with Sam 916. And Sam and Marto will take a little bit of the jungle way and down in bot. So nice efficiency as they go ahead and back up here. 15 kills in 14 minutes. They have almost the 10k net worth advantage, about 9k net worth advantage at this point. And it's incredibly significant, but somehow Carry On still able to find some of these picks. I feel like this team is not completely out of this one.
I mean, in terms of gold lead, they're definitely.
Passage.
He did it, boys. He did a good one.
Oh, Boncho even takes it back for max efficiency. Sam 916 has an afterburn. Badaboo, Sam. Did they think he went the other way? They could have just chased him down and got the kill, right? But they have to probably back because Marto and Sam are taking this turret down. I don't think Widowfresh can hold it.
Yeah, I don't think Widowfresh can do this by himself, and that means it's going to be very difficult for a Blacklaw take. That's going to be the armory turret going down here. The root lands onto Widowfresh.
What's this team doing, though? But they didn't even back up.
I think Status was trying to stop them, and maybe they've been a bit confused about where to actually back. They're worried about getting stopped. I mean, I'm just not sure.
I'm not sure. Well, you shouldn't play Vainglory while sitting upside down. And he's getting torn up over here. I think the Glaives that kill. The rest of the team dives into the base. The turret is still alive. Marto juggles the damage, backs up. Status, though, you're not tanky enough.
Oh, baby!
He does get the kill with the ace here. He's able to stay alive. Unbelievable. Oh, now you're dead.
He's dead now. Poor Status. But that should be game. That should be game going over to Liberation X.
The status is that Liberation X will be coming through for the second victory in this series, taking a clean 2-0 over Carry On. I hope Carry On had a good time here. They definitely showed that they know how to play the game. They can put some stuff together. Now, this is throwable. This is throwable. But not when your Tony just gets deleted like that. It will indeed be the end of the game. Sub 16 minutes. Clean stuff from Liberation X Sattown boys.
Really good second game there from Liberation X, and unfortunately there was nothing that Carry On could do about it. Looked much cleaner. This looked like a really solid team, and I'm looking forward to seeing these guys move forward in the tournament.
Incredibly excited as well. Great to see them play, and with that, we will throw it over to the analyst desk.
There we have it. Liberation X are going to take their first series of 5v5 2-0 in the end against Carry On. And thanks as well to Excoundrel and Humanist for talking us through the action all day long. Thank you very much, guys. And we'll see them later on in the tournament. Well, what a game coming out from Liberation X.
Sacktown boys are back in it. So happy to see Liberation X once again back together and picking up wins in competitive Vainglory. Don't know how long the ride will last because they have a very tough matchup ahead of them now, but they at least got the one win. Maybe that'll be enough to motivate them to keep going in the future, hopefully, because they're such a fun team to watch, the way that they play the game.
They love to be aggressive. They love to make plays, and we'll see how that's going to pan out for them later on into the tournament. They're going to be moving on in the bracket. We'll look into the bracket a little bit more in a couple of seconds' time, but first, let's excuse me, first let's have a word from our sponsors. So here we have our updated bracket. So I'll talk you through what's been happening across the course of today. First thing today, we had Great Invoxus versus Isuba, and Great Invoxus managed to take that one in the end. Little Godfather took on Hexcom over in Europe, and Historic versus Sileblood went the way of Historic. But here in North America, the bracket we're looking at, we had Toxic Peace versus Chimmy to start things off. Toxic Peace managed to take that game, and you can see them over in the A segment. They're going to be up against Tribe next. And then we had Liberation X versus Carrion. That was the series that we just watched. It was a 2-0 in the end to Liberation X, which means that they have now qualified themselves to go up against Nova Esports as their next opponent in the tournament. You can see them in the C block.
Yeah, and the only question mark left in the top 16 for North America is going to be which Dr. VG and Devious Methods. That'll be happening tomorrow, but we know what the matchups were today. There's your results. You just kind of briefly ran through them, but just get the visual representation of how the day played out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a fantastic day of games it has been. We've seen quite a few different varying compositions. We've not seen necessarily just one power pick running away with things. We've seen a lot of different stuff working, and we've seen different strategies as well. It's not just been, you know, one comp fits all. Different teams have very much had different identities, and I'm excited to see how that continues into tomorrow. Yeah,
I mean, it's been, I think, like I said, the variety of what we've seen, even in just 4 series, the amount of variety that we have seen. You know, Ringo getting picked up and picking up a win in the final game. We saw, you know, the 3 new heroes getting played. We saw Moline a bunch. We saw Finn. We saw Flicker dominate a game. Like, anything apparently is possible in Update 3.5, and I can't wait until we start to get the rest of the teams involved in the tournament.
Yeah, we saw a fantastic weapon Idris as well earlier on today. So definitely a lot of ways that you can dominate right now in Vainglory, and I'm excited to see more of those be revealed across the course of the rest of the tournament. Make sure to tune in again tomorrow morning. We're going to be back with the European Games at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so make sure that you're here for that. Well, that's going to be it from us. Thank you very much from myself, Bacon, and the rest of the production crew, and we'll see you guys bright and early in the morning.
Did it. Oh. So I replaced the battery in the mic pack right in the corner. It's still like full tilt.